Chapter 942. How could the past Su Xin compare to him? Han Qingjin snorted. Forget it. He's not worthy of Su Xin. He's just a man Su Xin relied on. You. Who do you think you are? Lin Yotsai's face turned red, and he was furious. Han Qingjin said, Who do you think you are? How dare you treat Su Xin like that, and let her suffer in your house? Lin Yukai was shocked by his cold and angry voice. Lin Yukai quickly hid behind and asked Gu Jingze, Who is this? Han Qingjin said, I'm her current husband. Lin Yukai was shocked. He wanted to say that Su Xin was not dead and had found a second-hand man. However, he saw that Han Qingjin was not only dressed in famous brands, but also had a small gun at his waist. Gu Jingze said, This is a wealthy businessman from Country M, Mr. Han Qingjin. Wealthy businessman. Lin Yukai was even more shocked. Su Xin was still alive and had found a husband. He was a big businessman from Country M. This made Lin Yukai feel like it was a fantasy. How could such ordinary people be so noble now? He really regretted it. Why was he so unlucky to meet such a person? Just then, someone came in and said, Sir, Elder Lu is here. Hearing the two words, Elder Lu, Han Qingjin's expression became even uglier. His painful and uncomfortable look was touching. However, Gu Jingze looked at him and waved his hand to call Lu Qinyu in. When Lu Qinyu walked in, Lin Yukai had already shrunk to the side. How could he behave atrociously in front of these big shots? However, when Lu Qinyu came in, he did not even look at him. He looked at the woman sitting on the bed in a daze. Then, a look of disbelief flashed across his face. Su Xin. His voice trembled as he walked over. However, a person stood in front of him coldly. Lu Qinyu, don't even think about touching Su Xin again. Lu Qinyu then looked at Han Qingjin. The man was stunned. Then he asked doubtfully, Ji Qiansheng. At that time, he and Su Xin were both his students. He still remembered. You. Han Qingjin snorted. You didn't expect this, did you, Mr. Lu? Did you think that everyone who knew about your past was dead? But no, I'm still alive, and Su Xin is still alive. You lied to Su Xin's feelings back then, causing her to be in so much pain that she wished she was dead. I'll settle this score with you sooner or later. Lu Qinyu looked at Su Xin in surprise. So it's really Su Xin? Is it really you? Fang Zichen looked at him strangely. I know you, right? Lu Qinyu was stunned. On the other side, Lin Yukai was shocked. What? These people were actually related to Su Xin? He remembered that when he first met Su Xin, she was a down-and-out woman who had no home to return to. After he brought her back, he had never looked her in the eye, even though she was beautiful. Unfortunately, the tigress at home was too strict, and he understood that there were many women out there. However, he still had to rely on his wife, Han Qingjin, to fight for power, so he could only let her be a decoration. Moreover, at that time, she didn't seem eye-catching at all. How could he have imagined that Su Xin was actually someone important? Even if he regretted it now, it was too late. Chen Yuqing had been watching from the back the whole time. At this moment, he stood up and looked at the two of them. All right, everyone, I want to say that everyone stand properly now. I'm helping Mrs. Han recover her memory. Now, I hope that you can be quiet and let me do it. Everyone stopped and stared at him. He walked over, picked up a coin, and said to Han Qingjin, I'll do it. You don't have to worry about me. Tell me how you made Su Xin become Fang Zichen back then. Tell me all the details. Han Qingjin smiled bitterly. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have been able to hide it any longer. But he should be satisfied. All these years, he could just take it as his stolen happiness. Back then, when Su Xin was with this mediocre person, I didn't know either. I searched for her for a long time before I finally found her. At that time, she already had a child. I wanted her to leave with me, but she said that for the sake of the child, she would stay in Country C. I had no choice but to find someone to help me. First, I erased her memory. Then, I took her away and made a similar rubber dummy. I bribed the hospital and the funeral parlor. The funny thing was, Lin Yukai thought that she was dead, so he wouldn't go near her no matter what. He was afraid that touching her corpse would bring him bad luck. They also didn't let her daughter get close to her, so that my plan could be carried out perfectly. After her dummy was cremated, I immediately took her away from Country C. At that time, I had already found someone to forge our identities. When I woke up in Country M, I told her that her name was Fong Zichen and that she was my wife. Because she had no memory, she only trusted me. So, after so many years, I've been living with her. Unfortunately, in order to make her hypnotize better, I gave her an overdose of drugs so that, I don't know if it's because of the effects of the drugs or the hypnosis, but her body hasn't been well. As soon as he finished speaking, the coin in Chen Yuqing's hand fell to the ground. Fong Zixiao was stunned. Her eyes widened as she scanned the people in front of her. Suddenly, she seemed to have come to a sudden realization. I. Her gaze was fixed on Lu Qinyu, who was in front of her. Then, tears streamed down her cheeks. Teacher Lu. Su. Lu Qinyu stumbled over to her. Sutsun was crying. She bit her lower lip and looked at him. Lu Qinyu couldn't take it anymore and hugged her. I'm sorry, Tsin-sun. Han Qingyin's face was desolate. Looking at the two people hugging each other, he suddenly felt like he was an extra person. He walked out step by step like a walking corpse. Unexpectedly, when he reached the outside, he saw Lin Che, who had rushed over. She looked at Han Qingjin and asked, My mom. How's my mom? Han Qingjin pointed inside and said, She's already remembered. Lin Che's eyes were filled with excitement. He quickly ran in. When he pushed the door open, he saw the two people hugging each other. She was so excited that she didn't know what to say when she looked inside, until Sutsun raised her head and saw her. Lin Che. Xiao Che. Lin Che's eyes were filled with tears. When he heard her call Xiao Che, he couldn't help but shed hot tears. Mom, is it really you? She ran over and threw herself into Sutsun's arms. She hugged Lin Che, and for a moment, she touched his back and cried along with him. Lu Qinyu looked at them from the side. He couldn't help but close his eyes and hold back his tears. Sutsun lifted her head and looked at Lu Qinyu. I really didn't expect that we would be able to meet again under the same roof. I thought that you would never see each other again in this lifetime. Lin Che raised his head in surprise. Lu Qinyu also looked puzzled. Sutsun said, I want to stay in Country C even if I have to die to protect Lin Che, because one day I hope that you can meet her. I hope that you can see her with your own eyes. Chapter 943. Lu Qinyu was stunned. What did that mean? Lu Qinyu's expression changed bit by bit as he looked at Sutsun. You mean? Sutsun's eyes were misty with tears as she looked at him. After so many years of emotions, she finally revealed them to him. Lu Qinyu glanced at Lin Che. Lin Che was still in a daze. He had no idea what was going on. What were they talking about? What did that mean? But at this moment, Lu Qinyu was already walking towards Lin Che step by step. His steps were a little unsteady. It was obvious that he was very emotional. Sutsun looked at him and nodded forcefully. Lu Qinyu became even more emotional. He looked at Lin Che with tears in his eyes. This is my daughter? Sutsun said from behind. Although I had already given up on you, Teacher Lu, I still couldn't bear to give up on Lin Che. Lin Che is your daughter, and I hope that you can meet one day. This doesn't mean anything, but I hope that you know that you still have a daughter. Lu Qinyu was filled with remorse and slapped himself in the face. I'm sorry, Sutsun. I didn't know. Lu Qinyu knelt on the ground. He looked at Sutsun with tears streaming down his face. Sutsun hadn't expected this. She leaned back and said hurriedly, Don't be like this. Don't be like this. Lu Qinyu looked at Sutsun. I'm a jerk. I made you leave in anger. I made you leave with your daughter. Sutsun thought about the past. Now, she was really emotional. She couldn't hold it in anymore and started crying. Lin Yukai listened. What did this mean? Lin Che. Lin Che was Lu Qinyu's daughter, not his. At the time, he remembered that he wanted to rape Sutsun, but he got drunk and fell asleep with Sutsun in his arms. Later, Sutsun got pregnant, but she didn't say if it was his child. He thought it was his child, so he brought Sutsun back. But he didn't expect that bitch Sutsun to make him the scapegoat. Lin Yukai was really angry, but he stood there and didn't feel like he existed at all. Moreover, the other party was Lu Qinyu. What else could he say? Sutsun looked at Lu Qinyu. At that time, I knew that someone was following me. I also knew that someone suspected that I was pregnant with your child. I had no choice but to say that Lin Che was Lin Yotsai's child. Everyone believed me, and from then on, no one came looking for me. Lu Qinyu understood that at that time, someone had discovered his relationship with Su Tsin and wanted to make use of it, so Su Tsin was in danger. Lu Qinyu looked at Lin Che and said, I didn't expect. From the first time I saw you, I felt that you and Su Tsin were cut from the same mold. I really liked you. Now that I think about it, it's because you're my daughter. No matter what, I still like you. Lin Che looked at Su Tsin, dumbfounded, and shook his head vigorously. Impossible. Impossible. How could this be? Lin Che immediately ran out. He couldn't understand or accept it. Why did her life suddenly become so complicated? Hey, Lin Che. Su Tsin still wanted to come down. Lu Qinyu quickly pulled her back. Gu Jingze, who had been watching from outside, walked in calmly. Don't worry, I'll go and take a look. Lu Qinyu looked at Gu Jingze gratefully and nodded at him. Then he said to Su Tsin, with Jingze around, Lin Che will get better, really. Su Tsin looked at him worriedly, but she still nodded. She knew that it was a little strange for Lin Che to suddenly accept this matter. Outside, when Gu Jingze went out, he saw that the place was tightly surrounded by people outside. Because He Ying and Han Qingjian were both here, the place was really tightly sealed. Lin Che didn't have anywhere else to go. He just stood there and looked at the sky, taking deep breaths. His heart was extremely stifled. Just then, Gu Jingze followed behind him. He looked at Lin Che, paused for a moment, and then slowly walked over. Lin Che said, How is that possible? I'm Elder Lu's. Gu Jingze walked over and hugged Lin Che. Silly, no matter whose child you are, you're Lin Che. You're my wife. No matter what your surname is, you're you, right? Lin Che raised his head and said, Really? Of course, Gu Jingze said. Gu Jingze said, We can't interfere in the affairs of the older generation. We can only watch them play around. Why don't we just ignore it? Look, my father suddenly got me an illegitimate son. What can I do? If I really get into a dead end, we won't be happy. Lin Che thought about it and agreed. Just then, He Ying's voice came from behind. Who's an illegitimate son? Gu Jingze couldn't be bothered to look at him. Lin Che turned around and saw that He Ying was full of energy. He looked at Gu Jingze and Lin Che and said, What's going on? I haven't seen you for a few days, and you brought someone here again. This place was originally surrounded like an iron wall, and now there are so many people here. There's not enough air, okay? Lin Che said, All right, are your injuries completely healed? You still have time to talk nonsense here. He Ying said, Of course. Just then, he saw Gu Jingze's father, Gu Qigong, walking over step by step from behind. This time, He Ying's expression changed as well. He had just been watching the show, but now he had become a part of the show. His face couldn't help but darken as he turned around to leave. Jingyan, wait up, Gu Qigong said as he quickened his steps. Gu Jingze said, Father, it's a mess here now. Don't come and add to the mess, okay? Gu Qigong said, I saw Lu Qinyu here, so I came over to see what happened. There's so many people here. Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che and told Gu Qigong about what had happened. Gu Qigong looked at Lin Che in shock and said, What? You're Lu Qinyu's daughter? Lin Che said, I don't know either. Maybe I am, but I only want to be Lin Che now. No matter whose daughter I am, I'll always be myself. Gu Qigong, on the other hand, looked furious. His face looked like it was about to burst into flames. Damned Lu Qinyu. How many more people does he want to harm? How many more vile creatures does he want to create? Gu Jingze looked at Gu Qigong and his eyes moved. You know something about Elder Lu's past? Gu Qigong snorted coldly. I don't just know. Back then, I was good friends with him. Don't you know that we practically grew up together? Chapter 944. As Gu Qigong spoke, he saw that Lu Qinyu had already come out. Behind him was a frail-looking Sung. Gu Qigong looked at Lu Qinyu and said, Since you're here, let's make things clear. Lu Qinyu said, Why are you here? Gu Qigong said, I just found out that Lin Che is actually your daughter. Qinyu, I told you a long time ago that you have to be able to control yourself. But look at what you've done. Lu Qinyu's face was full of regret. He looked up to the sky and sighed. Lin Che, when I was young, I made many mistakes. I know that I'm old now. When I think about it, I regret it. But I realized it too late. Gu Qigong harumphed and said, "All right, stop pretending. Since you're here, and I'm here, why don't we reveal the truth today? I've helped you keep the secret for so many years. It's time to let everyone know." Everyone was indeed a little surprised. They looked at Gu Qigong, not knowing what he was going to say. However, they seemed to see something in his eyes that had always puzzled them. Today, the truth might be revealed. He looked at Lu Qinyu and said, "Do you still remember how you changed girlfriends in school and asked me to clean up after you whenever you had a problem? I thought that you were young and immature. Later on, do you still remember that when you just got married, you had an illegitimate child outside? You didn't dare to keep it and could only beg me for help. I promised you that I would hide the child well. You also said that that was your last time, but you were still found out in the end and you got a divorce. After the divorce, I thought that you would understand and stop doing it, but you actually got together with your student again." Gu Qigong turned around and said, "It was Su-Sin. When he was with Su-Sin, I was watching from the side. Su-Sin, do you still remember me?" Su-Sin looked at him and nodded. She said, "I know." Gu Qigong said, "Do you still remember how you left him and how you despaired him?" Tears welled up in Su-Sin's eyes, but she smiled and said, "It's all in the past. I was being stubborn back then." Gu Qigong said to the juniors. Su-Sin realized that she wasn't the first person to have feelings for him. Su-Sin heard me talking to Qinyu about the illegitimate child, so she knew that he had an affair in his marriage and had an illegitimate child. She left in a fit of anger. As everyone listened, the past seemed to become clearer and clearer all of a sudden. So that's how it all happened. In other words, that Gu Qigong had never betrayed Mu Wanqing. That illegitimate child was not from the Gu family. Yes, it was Gu Qigong who had helped Lu Qinyu block the disaster. Gu Qigong turned around and looked at Gu Jingze. "Jingze, father couldn't tell you because I promised your uncle Lu that I would keep it a secret for him, so I didn't tell you." He then looked at the Black Hawk. "Jingyan, but no matter what, I promised to protect you, but I let someone throw you into the snow and ice. It's also my dereliction of duty. It's my fault that you've suffered so much in your life. I really blame myself." Behind him, a few people were also extremely shocked by what Gu Qigong had said. Lu Qinyu looked at the Black Hawk. He is. Gu Qigong turned around. "He's your son. Qinyu, this is retribution. He found us himself for nothing else but revenge. Isn't this retribution?" Lu Qinyu was really shocked. He looked at Lin Che and the Black Hawk. This was his daughter, and this was his son. He didn't expect to see them on this day, but that he couldn't bear it for a moment. He leaned there, and his entire body slid down. Elder Lu, what's wrong?" Lu Qinyu fell to the ground, his eyes still looking at Gu Qigong. It's my fault. It's my fault." Gu Qigong shook his head helplessly. "Since you've done wrong in the past, you can still find a chance to make up for it while you're still alive. It's not a bad thing." Lu Qinyu was extremely ashamed. He hung his head weakly. Fortunately, they were in the hospital. Very soon, he was carried onto a stretcher. Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che and then at the Black Hawk. Lin Che was also looking at the Black Hawk. Didn't that mean that they had wronged Gu Qigong? Gu Qigong was an extremely good person. He had been wronged for so many years, but he had never revealed his secret. He had kept his promise until the day when the truth had to be revealed. The Black Hawk wasn't a child of the Gu family. He wasn't an illegitimate child of the Gu family. He was an illegitimate child of the Lu family? Lin Che wasn't a child of the Lin family. He was an illegitimate child of the Lu family. In that case, not only did the Black Hawk not become Gu Jingze's elder brother, he became Lin Che's elder brother instead. Lin Che actually rejected it in his heart. "No way. Lin Che is my younger sister?" The Black Hawk pointed at Lin Che in shock. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Lin Che shook her head. Oh my God, oh my God. Compared to having a father with the surname Lu, she felt that having a brother named He-Ying was something that she couldn't accept. Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes as he looked at the Black Hawk. His expression was complicated. After some time, he looked away. The next day, Gu Jingze let the Black Hawk out. Elder Lu was hospitalized, and Su-Sin took care of him for 2 days. Lin Che was Elder Lu's child. That meant that she had become Liu Beichen and the Black Hawk's younger sister. When Liu Beichen heard the news, he rushed to the hospital. He looked at Lin Che in disbelief. No way, you're my younger sister? Lin Che felt awkward. She didn't know what to say. All she could do was crack a smile. Gu Jingzhe watched from his side. All right, what are you so excited about? Liu Beichen chuckled. He looked at Gu Jingzhe and said, now we have to calculate the seniority. She's my younger sister, so you're my brother-in-law. Brother-in-law, call me big brother first. Gu Jingzhe's face darkened. Behind them, Gu Jingyan came in. When she heard this, she said, hey, what about me? Yes, if he counted from Gu Jingyan, then Gu Jingzhe would be the second brother. Liu Beichen said, I'll count from where I say. Gu Jingzhe raised an eyebrow. All right, then you'll consider her as your younger sister. Give her half of the Liu family's assets, and I'll call you big brother. You, ruthless. This Gu Jingzhe was ruthless. After killing him, Liu Beichen didn't dwell on the issue anymore. He looked up and said, I thought the Black Hawk was locked up here. Where is he? He left, Gu Jingzhe said. Huh, you let him go? It was useless for Gu Jingzhe to keep Black Hawk. Now he knew that Black Hawk was Lin Che's older brother. If Black Hawk was his older brother, he would let it go. However, Black Hawk was Lin Che's older brother. For Lin Che's sake, he would let Black Hawk go. Chapter 945. He knew that he had misunderstood Gu Qigong for so many years, but Gu Qigong didn't think much of it. He was very calm and felt that he was at fault. It was his negligence that caused him to become He Ying, causing Gu Xinde to abandon him. He had almost caused He Ying's death, but He Ying was lucky enough to come back to life. That day, He Ying called Gu Jingzhe and said, I'm leaving. Gu Jingzhe said, take care. I won't see you out. I'm still at the headquarters. You can look for me if you need anything. There's nothing to look for now. As your big brother, you have to look for me if you need anything, He Ying said. Gu Jingzhe said indifferently, you're not my big brother. Don't get me wrong, but I'm Lin Che's big brother. Isn't that your big brother too? Okay, I'm hanging up. Contact me if you need anything. I'll go see Lin Che after a few days of rest. Lin Che rubbed his hair and came out. Who called? Your big brother. Lin Che was speechless. Which big brother? Gu Jingzhe threw down his phone. The difficult one. Oh, you mean He Ying? Lin Che sat down, still feeling a little strange. Suddenly, she had parents and a big brother, and two at once. She sighed, feeling that life had suddenly become very complicated. She fell onto the bed and said, why do I feel like I've lived all these years in vain? Only now do I know who I am and who my parents are. Gu Jingzhe tidied up her hair. Don't lie down like this. You'll get a headache. He supported her and gently picked up a towel to dry her hair. Lin Che said, it's so comfortable. Blow it for me, okay? Gu Jingzhe said, do you think I'm a servant? A hairdresser, not a servant. Why did it sound so strange? Lin Che raised his long legs. Husbands have to serve their wives, and it's an all-purpose service. Go. There's a hairdryer in the bathroom. She kicked Gu Jingzhe's leg. Gu Jingzhe looked at the lazy woman speechlessly, but he was willing to serve her. Walking over and picking up the hairdryer, he said, the hairdresser is here. Aren't you going to get up? When Lin Che heard this, he almost choked on his saliva. She turned around and saw Gu Jingzhe walking towards her with a hairdryer. She laughed out loud and sat up straight, letting Gu Jingzhe blow dry her hair. Gu Jingzhe plugged in the electricity and picked up her long hair. With the hairdryer blowing, he looked at her. Is this temperature okay? Yes. Lin Che sighed, feeling his slender fingers caressing it. Lin Che was extremely comfortable. Unexpectedly, he was quite talented in this aspect. He was self-taught. As he blew, he stretched her hair and gently massaged it. Gu Jingzhe said, how is it? Is it comfortable? Nice. Well, as long as it's comfortable. Remember to come again next time. I will definitely patronize you. In the future, when I come to your shop, I will order you. Gu Jingzhe looked at Lin Che, who was addicted to being a boss. Then if you think I'm good, why don't you keep me? Hearing this, Lin Che turned around and looked at him. Gu Jingzi stood there and looked at her from above. Although he was wearing home clothes, he was still so tall and straight. His eyes were gentle with a stream of warmth like flowing water, making people feel like they were bathing in a river of love. Gu Jingzi lowered his head and caressed her clothes. "How is it? Boss, you've seen me. Do you think I'm good enough to be a kept woman?" Of course, he was good enough. A hairdresser like this would probably be snatched away by a rich woman within half a day. And she would be snatched away. Lin Che said, "Whether you're good enough or not, depend on your skills." She raised her eyebrows suggestively. Gu Jingzi's gaze shifted. He said, "Boss, do you want to test your skills before deciding whether to keep me or not?" How are you going to test it?" "We'll test it however you want." As Gu Jingzi spoke, he stretched out his hands from under her body and pushed her onto the bed. I'm just saying. You can't just come whenever you want." "I always come whenever I want, get lost. How can there be a hairdresser like you?" I'm done. No refunds. Duh. The next day, Lin Che received a call from Lu Qinyu just as he was about to wake up. He said, "Xiao Che, do you have time? Can I go and see you?" Duh. Lin Che still felt weird and wanted to reject him. "Xiao Che, I know I've done a lot of wrong things. I just wanted to tell you and explain to you what happened between us back then. I think you have a right to know." Lin Che sighed and said, "Okay, I'll go and see you." Okay. Come to the Lu residence. I'll get someone to pick you up." "No need. It's not like I don't know how to get to the Lu residence. I can also go and see Jingyan." "That's true. The Gu residence should have a driver. I'll wait for you here, Xiao Che." Lin Che had no choice but to go to the Lu residence. Just as he reached the entrance, he saw people coming out to welcome him. "Eldest Miss is here. Quick, come and welcome Eldest Mississippi." Lin Che wanted to say what kind of lineup was this. She was speechless when she saw a bunch of people standing on both sides to welcome her. Lin Che said, "You guys are." Everyone bowed together. "Eldest Miss, welcome home." Lin Che said hurriedly, Hey. I'm not Eldest Mississippi. You must have made a mistake. "Eldest Miss, we all know that you are our Eldest Mississippi Eldest Miss. Please come in. Old Master has been waiting inside for a long time." As he said this, a few people came to lead her in enthusiastically. Lin Che looked worried. He couldn't handle such enthusiasm. He walked in and saw that it was indeed bustling. It looked like it was decorated meticulously as if it was Christmas. Lin Che saw that Lu Qinyu was still leaning on his walking stick. It looked like he was in poor health. He hurried over when he saw Lin Che. "Xiao Che, come quickly. Uncle Lu." Lu Qinyu was stunned and a little disappointed. However, he quickly smiled and said, "Xiao Che, I know you're still not used to it. You don't believe it and you can't accept it, but it doesn't matter. It's just a formality. The key is that I want to make it up to you in the future. I can't make up for the past, but I hope to be like a father and protect you in the future." Lin Che looked at him, not knowing how to respond. Lu Qinyu said, "Come, treat this as your home and sit wherever you want." Chapter 946. Lin Che said, "I'm sorry, Uncle Lu. I just can't accept it. You don't have to make it up to me. You don't know who I am or where I am. My past life has nothing to do with you. I don't feel that you're the one who caused my distress. This is my life to begin with, and it has nothing to do with you. You don't have to make it up to me." Lu Qinyu said, "Sai, you're such a good child. But the more you say that, the more ashamed I feel. You have a father like me. Really, I'm not worthy of a good daughter like you. I'm also glad that I didn't raise you myself. Otherwise, you'd have seen what my daughter is like. You didn't end up like her, not because you're my daughter, but because you're Su Tsin's daughter. She raised you well." He really felt very guilty. He lowered his head and sighed. Lin Che said, "Uncle Lu, don't say that." Lu Qinyu said, "I wanted to ask you to come because I wanted to explain to you that it's true that when I was young, I had a lot of romantic debts. Later on, I reflected on it, and it was because of my unstable personality. I made mistakes again and again, and in the end, I didn't regret it. But after the incident with your mother, I really changed. I loved your mother very much, but at that time, we were teacher and student. Not long after my divorce, there were rumors that your mother was the one who broke up our marriage, and she found out about what happened in the past, so she left in despair. Plus, the Lu family was in danger at that time, and There was constant internal strife. That's why she didn't tell me about her, nor did she tell me that she was pregnant. But I promise you that I loved her very much. You might not believe me, but after that, I never found another woman. I've been single until now. Lin Che was a little embarrassed. She looked at him and said, "There's no point in explaining all this to me. I know, but I want to tell you that your mother and I are the product of love. Your existence makes me feel really guilty, but I'm also very happy. I'm very happy to have you as my daughter." Lin Che blushed. He said, "No matter when you can accept it, this family's door will always be open for you. If anyone dares to bully you, I'll be the first to not let him off. Even if it's Gu Jingze, he can't hurt you in the slightest. Otherwise, I'll be the first to not let him off." He passed a card to her. "This is the Liu family's access card." Lin Che hurriedly pushed him away. "Uncle Liu, I can't take it." "It's all right, really. This will allow you to enter all of the Liu family's places and properties. Take it, and if you need it in the future, you can go to the Liu family's place with this. Naturally, someone will help you. Right now, the Gu family is in a mess, and I'm worried about your safety. In the past, I wasn't in the position to help you, but now, you're my daughter, so I'll help you no matter what." Lin Che really wanted to reject him. It felt weird to accept his gift, but Lu Qinyu insisted that she keep it. Lin Che could only look at him helplessly. "All right, I'll keep it for now, but I won't use it for no reason. Don't worry. Of course I believe you, Lil Che. You're such a good child. You're not a willful girl like her." The family had prepared a lot of delicious food for her. Lin Che ate a little and saw Liu Beichen returning. Lin Che had seen him after saying goodbye to Lu Qinyu. When he saw Lin Che, he walked over and sighed. "Hey, little sister, you're here." Lin Che said, "Don't. Why do you sound so weird?" Liu Beichun said, "What's wrong? Aren't you my little sister?" Liu Beichun said, "Don't blame me for your grudge against Dad. I don't know what he did back then." Could he not say it so intimately? She hadn't gotten used to it yet. Liu Beichun said to Lin Che as they walked, "Anyway, that's how our dad is. Don't care about him. I'm your brother after all. You can't accept him, but you can accept me, right? Look, I've always treated you well." Lin Che thought about it. Liu Beichun had treated her well. She just felt that the sudden change in their relationship was a little strange. He patted her head. "That's it then. If you don't acknowledge me as your brother, I'll be really sad." "Why would I?" "All right, I'll take that as a yes. Let's go, I'll send you out." How could he be so forceful? Liu Beichen walked her out. Seeing that the Gu family's car was still outside, he didn't stop and only said to her, "All right, you can go back with them." Also, he looked at her with a smile. "I'm quite happy to have a sister like you. Although my father isn't good, at least you didn't inherit it from him." How could he say that about his own father? Lin Che said goodbye to him and went home. On the way back, she sighed incessantly. But just as she reached home, she saw the people from Black Eagle standing at the door. Damn. Another group of people. Lin Che walked in and saw the helper running out. "Madam, you're finally back. Mr. Mo has been waiting inside for a long time. We told him that you weren't here, but he refused to leave. We had no choice." Yes, Black Eagle was such a difficult person to deal with. And it was obvious that the helper was afraid of him. Who asked him to look so fierce? Lin Che walked in and saw that he really didn't treat himself as an outsider. He sat on the sofa with his legs crossed. Seeing Lin Che come in, he stared at her. Actually, the two of them really didn't look like siblings. They didn't look the same at all. After all, they didn't share the same mother, and they miraculously inherited their mother's characteristics. He looked at Lin Che. "You're back." Lin Che said, "What are you doing here?" "Looking at you," he said. I don't think our relationship needs to change because of this." He said, "Are you still blaming me for kidnapping you in the past?" "Lin Che, at that time, I didn't know you were my sister, right? Besides, we didn't do anything to you, did we?" "No, it's not because of that. I just think it's too weird." Black Hawk stood up and looked at her. "Don't worry. My feelings must be the most similar to yours. Actually, we're all the same. Because Lu Yanqin did something wrong, we took on a lot of responsibility for him. Don't you think so? You've never felt familial love since you were young? Actually, I'm the same. You've never felt like a brother or sister since you were young, and I'm the same. You've lived a tough life since you were young and suffered a lot, and so am I. So I understand how you feel. For a moment, I don't know how to treat my sister, but I feel that it's better for us to work hard and get used to it. Chapter 9:47. Lin Che looked at him. She knew that Liu Beichun was indeed different from her and Haiying. She and Haiying had never thought that they would become like this. Seeing Lin Che standing there with a sigh, he said, "All right, I just wanted to come and see you. After all, I'm like you. It's my first time having a family, so I'm very curious. All right, I'm leaving." Lin Che smiled at him. He said, "Anyway, it's easy to acknowledge you. After all, I'm closer to you. As for that dad, that brother." Haiying shook his head and left. When Gu Jingzi came back, he saw that Lin Che was still in a daze. He walked over and said, "What are you doing?" "Haiying was here just now." "Yeah, I know. Then you. That's my problem, so I definitely won't let him go. But since he's your brother, I'll let him go no matter what." Why?" "Because you really need a family. It can't be helped. He's your relative. Which wife doesn't have a few terrible relatives? A husband can only tolerate it for the sake of his wife, right?" Lin Che said, "You're so annoying." She said it as if she wanted it. But thinking about it, even though it was very vexing, it didn't feel too bad. It definitely wasn't as bad as before. She just felt that it was strange, but she didn't feel particularly upset or angry. Perhaps that she didn't really hate them from the bottom of her heart. After settling the issue of her family, Lin Che went back to filming. The filming was nearing its end. Nangong had already edited a lot of clips. But Nangong's movies had always been like this. They wouldn't show any clips in advance. They were very secretive. Everyone would only know what the movie was about at the end. Meanwhile, the third episode of the reality show was airing. The third episode was still very effective. Because everyone was more familiar with each other, they cooperated better and had more topics to talk about. Gradually, everyone's personalities became more distinct. People even specially gave them all kinds of representative nicknames. The viewership ratings were also much higher than other shows. The popularity of the show grew day by day. It surpassed Travel Together and became the #1 reality show. Now, when everyone went to the reality show's production team for a meeting to discuss the show, they all felt elated and had more confidence. It was no longer a news show that had been suppressed by Travel Together, but the #1 show that had replaced it. The industry had always been very practical. The company immediately changed them to a better and bigger conference room. The funds, advertisements, and publicity for the show were also piled up. There was never too little icing on the cake. With the help of all parties, the show became more and more popular. Several of the show's guests also sighed. They had followed the right show. Now, a few of the guests had also become even more popular. The big brothers of the hosting world, who were already past their prime, had now become A-list celebrities once again. There were fans everywhere waiting for them. As for the young male idols, who were still lacking a little, they had become even more powerful now. On the other hand, Lin Che didn't think much of it. She had a lot of topics to talk about, so she would attract more attention wherever she went. At this moment, more attention was being paid to him. When they arrived at the set of the show, there were people everywhere. It was a sea of people. In order to film a scene with a lot of fans for publicity, the production team did not let everyone use the special passageway. Hence, when they came out, it was really crowded. Everyone was pushed and shoved by the passionate fans. They wanted to take pictures and get autographs. There was no other way. Many security guards and police were deployed, but they finally managed to move the fans away. When Lin Che went out, she was extremely tired. Everyone sighed. It looked like being a celebrity also required stamina. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be able to squeeze out. Everyone smiled as they looked at Lin Che. We should learn from Lin Che. She has more experience in being popular and has seen more of these kinds of situations. Lin Che said, "Why are you all looking at me? Don't look at me like a cicada in winter. I'm already past my prime, all right? Come on, you're past your prime. Didn't you sweep the entertainment industry away when you returned? That's just a coincidence. Other than a reality show, I don't have any other shows. Didn't you guys see how the internet is commenting on me? They say that I don't even have a show and that I'm relying on a reality show to survive. That's because they're jealous. However, your movie should be airing soon, right? Lin Shaye said, yeah, it's almost done. When the time comes, it'll definitely be very popular. Our show will help you promote it and earn big. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for your kind words. Lin Shaye chuckled. He also hoped that it would be a big hit. Who wouldn't want their own movie to be better? At this time, Lin Shaye's film company was also listed. After it was released, needless to say, there were still many things to do. On this day, she first met up with Shun Yuran and went to the first company meeting together. At the company meeting, Lin Shaye sat at the innermost seat. The company had just been established, and they didn't need too many employees. One conference room was enough for everyone. Looking at these new faces, Lin Shaye said straightforwardly, let's cut to the chase. Anyway, the company has just been established, and we still need everyone to take good care of it. I know that there are people outside who say that I'm probably just playing around and that artists who set up companies will most likely lose money. However, I think that even if I'm not smart enough, I still have you guys, right? You won't ruin the company if your IQ is lower than mine, right? We're all just starting out. The company's first step is also your first step. I hope that our first step can be more exciting and not lead us to destruction together. Anyway, we're here to earn money. Let's earn money together and let those people who are waiting for us to close down see how we earn money and make a name for ourselves. Okay? When everyone heard that, they were full of vigor. After the meeting, Shin Yuran said to Lin Shaye, wow, you're not bad. You're quite like that. Lin Shaye chuckled and said, Gu Jingze helped me write it. I practiced for half a night last night. When Shin Yuran heard that, a look of realization appeared on his face. No wonder. The Almighty is going to be very impressive. Lin Shaye said, all right, let them work on the proposal for the next few days. We'll look for investors and get things going first. Otherwise, it'll be a waste of our vigor. Shin Yuran said, we've already chosen some good scripts. You're experienced, so you can go back and see which ones are more suitable. Okay, when the time comes, we could develop our own artists together with our studio. It'll be so convenient. Hee hee, we're simply geniuses. Let's go. The two of them chatted as they walked back in high spirits. It was Shun Yuran's first time running a company, so it was very refreshing. Chapter 948. When Lin Shaye returned home, Gu Jingze said, it's almost the Lunar New Year. You'll probably be very busy and have to go back to attend a banquet. Remember to rest well these few days. Lin Shaye said, okay. I'm just going to look at these scripts to see if there are any suitable ones. Gu Jingze said, I'll help you look. He took it and looked at it. Lin Shaye snatched it back. Forget it. You don't understand. Duh. Gu Jingze looked at Lin Shaye. You're starting to dislike me now. Lin Shaye said, what's wrong? You have to admit that you're not omnipotent. You don't understand acting, and you don't understand scripts either. Gu Jingze glared at her and said, okay, you're getting better and better. So you're looking down on me more and more, right? Uh-huh. I'm a boss and a big CEO now. We're on the same level, so you don't have much to offer. Ugh. Gu Jingze said, then how can I solidify my position in your heart? Oomph. If you serve me well every day and even bring me water, I can consider not falling out of favor with you. Okay, looks like I'll have to come up with a few new positions to make you feel fresh. Duh. Gu Jingze hugged her and shifted her body over to face him. He looked at her face and said, don't you think so? Get lost. The two of them were laughing when a helper barged in. Seeing them sitting so intimately, she quickly ran out with a red face. Gu Jingze frowned. The helpers this time are really unruly. Lin Shaye said, good-naturedly, I'm giving them a chance to train. Gu Jingze said, I'm going to leave Country C and go to Country M. I have something to discuss with the president there. Okay, don't worry. I can take care of myself here. Okay. Anyway, I've already told Liu Beichen to look after you when I'm not around. Duh. Lin Shaye looked at him speechlessly. Why did you tell him? He's your brother after all. He's better than an outsider. Lin Shaye was really... Gu Jingze left the next day. Lin Shaye stayed here with Nian Nian. Nian Nian seemed to be busy with something these few days. She went out in the morning and came back at night. She couldn't be bothered with her and seemed to be ready to sleep the moment she came back. Lin Shaye thought about it. Previously, he was still suspicious of Black Hawk's identity. Now that it was confirmed that he was his brother, Yunyun was indeed related to Nian by blood. He didn't know when Yunyun's identity would be exposed. At that time, he hoped that Nian would understand what was going on and not be too sad. After Gu Jingze left, the servants only needed to take care of Lin Che. Lin Che read the script until late at night and woke up at 10 in the morning. By the time she came out, Nian had already left. The chef had prepared breakfast for her, and she only started eating. Sitting at the dining table, seeing that there was no one around, he felt a little lonely. It was really boring to eat alone. Lin Che said, "When did Gu Jingze leave?" The servant said, "Sir left at 6 in the morning." "So early." She mumbled and continued eating the fried dough sticks. The servant cleared away the breakfast and turned to say to the others, "How dare Madam say that she didn't even know that Sir woke up so early? I don't know how to be a wife." "It's because Sir spoils her so much that she forgot how to be a wife. Let's see how she's going to act like a tyrant when Sir isn't around these few days." After the servants left, it was as if nothing had happened. In the middle of the night, Lin Che was hungry. She came out to look for food. When she saw the servant, she stopped her and said, "Is there anyone else in the kitchen? I'm so hungry. I want to eat something." "Ah, madam, there's no one in the kitchen." "Is that so? Okay." When Gu Jingze was around, the kitchen seemed to be occupied. Could it be that they knew that Gu Jingze wasn't around, so they got off work early? The servant said, "Madam, why don't I call the chef back? The chef should be around anyway, but he might be resting. Just wake him up." Lin Che said, "No need. That's too troublesome. I'll cook some instant noodles myself." She turned to look at the servant. Seeing that the servant didn't say anything, she left. She remembered that this was a newcomer. She felt that the servant's words had a hidden meaning, but she didn't say anything. She went to cook a bowl of noodles for herself. The next day, Lin Che was going to attend an event. He looked for clothes at home, but he couldn't find anything suitable. When he sat there looking for clothes, he asked the servant to help him carry things, but it was always a little late. Lin Che wanted to say that these servants were too unreasonable, but because he was too busy, he just left with a straight face and didn't say anything. Seeing this, the servants were secretly laughing. "Look at Madam without Sir. She's just a soft eggplant." "Of course. Doesn't she know that? She's nothing. Isn't it because Sir dotes on her? I heard that Sir used to have other girlfriends. She pushed them away and became his wife." Yes. I've never seen such a lazy person. She needs Sir to wait on her every day. Moreover, Sir is too good to her. He gives in to her and dotes on her so much. What kind of person is our Sir? His looks. Exactly. Seeing how intimate Sir is with her every day, I wonder if she has cast a spell on Sir. When everyone thought of how intimate Gu Jingze was with her, they couldn't help but blush. Yes, Sir is such a steady person. Don't you think it's weird that he's so intimate with her at home, regardless of where he is? They walked around like conjoined twins. Who in the house hadn't seen them being so intimate together? Lin Che came back at night. Because it was too late, there was still nothing to eat at home. She cooked a bowl of instant noodles for herself and didn't ask the servants again. However, she didn't expect Gu Jingze to come back at this time. The moment he entered the door, he smelled a familiar smell. As expected, he saw Lin Che eating. "Hey, Gu Jingze, why are you back so late?" Lin Che quickly jumped off the chair and looked at him. Gu Jingze said, "I came back after I finished my work." "Why are you eating noodles alone? Do you want instant noodles again? Although it's delicious, eating too much is not good for your health. Don't eat it all the time, do you hear me?" He looked at her reproachfully. Lin Che said, "It's nothing. I'm just eating a little. There are chefs on duty in the kitchen at night. You can ask them to cook something. You can eat whatever you want. It's so late. Why would I bother the chefs? That's enough. Everyone has their own specialties. Didn't you say that? They are chefs, so they should be on duty at night. This is what they should do." Chapter 949. Lin Che said, "Well, I think it's too late. It doesn't take long to cook instant noodles." Gu Jingze looked at her deeply and didn't say anything else. He nodded and said, "All right, let's go. Since it's already cooked, let's eat first." After they finished eating, Lin Che went to wash up. Gu Jing's face slowly darkened. He went outside. He looked at the people outside and said, "Tell them to tell me in detail what Madam did while I was away." "Yes, sir." When Gu Jingze woke up in the morning, he received a reply. "Sir, these days, the servants seem to have neglected Madam," the butler said. "How so?" "Well," the butler broke out in a cold sweat. He didn't notice it before and only found out about it after asking. The butler told him everything in detail and didn't dare to miss a word. After all, it was not someone else but Sir's beloved Madam. On normal days, Sir was not willing to let Madam suffer any grievances. These new servants were too insensible. They actually dared to do such small things in private. It was also because they came too late and didn't know what Madam meant to Sir, so they dared to be so bold. Now that he couldn't even take care of himself, he couldn't care less about them. Now that Sir knew that Madam was wronged, he didn't fire him because he had been in the office for so many years. Gu Jingze said, "All right, bring them to me." "Yes, sir." The butler quickly went out and gathered the new servants. After they came in, they looked at Gu Jingze and stood in 2 rows in fear. They lowered their heads and didn't dare to get up. Gu Jingze said, "I heard that someone dared to be disrespectful to Madam when I was away." The servants didn't say a word, as if they didn't realize that there was any danger. Gu Jingze said, "Being disrespectful to Madam means being disrespectful to me and to the Gu family." His voice, which was calm at the beginning, became gloomy towards the end. In the end, his voice was so quiet that it made people feel as if his words were like a sharp blade that struck at them, making them feel a chill in their hearts. Everyone couldn't help but feel that the temperature in the room had dropped a few degrees. "You've all been trained and sent here. You should know that disrespecting the Gu family is equivalent to betraying the entire family. You should know the consequences of betraying the family better than I do, right?" The people standing immediately panicked. They quickly lowered their heads and said, "Sir, we don't dare." "Don't dare? How could you not dare? Not only did you not dare, you even did it." He snorted and raised his head. "Take them out and punish them according to the family rules. From now on, I don't want to see them anywhere." The people below completely panicked this time. Sir, we were really wrong." Someone was already shouting, desperately looking in the direction of the housekeeper. However, the butler didn't dare to raise his head at all. They were courting death, so they didn't want to drag him down with them. Seeing that no one was willing to help, someone mustered up the courage to say, "Sir, we also feel that it's unfair for you. We feel that Madam doesn't care about you and doesn't fulfill her duty as a wife." "Huh? Do I need to consult you about the duty of a wife?" Gu Jingze looked at them sharply. The person was so scared that he almost fell to the ground. No matter what, it was the old man who asked us to come. Please give us another chance for the sake of the old man." Li Yindong said, "Madam asked us to take care of you. If you treat us like this, Madam will be sad." They weren't begging for mercy. These servants were saying that they were sent here by Old Master. If they were punished, how would they explain it to Old Master Gu? Gu Jingze snorted. "Have you forgotten that I'm the head of the household now? Do you think that I need to report to the family for such a small matter? You're wrong." He waved his hand and said calmly, "The few who spoke just now, punish them more severely." "Yes." The few of them paused again. Gu Jingze didn't want to say another word. He directly waved his hand and asked them to leave. "No, please don't, sir. Sir, we really don't dare to do it again." The servants cried out sorrowfully. They didn't expect that Gu Jingze would really disrespect Old Master Gu and Madam because of such a small matter. Gu Jingze's harsh and frightening character was originally just a rumor. Now they finally knew. However, it was too late. No one could save them now. Because of these people's departure, the Gu family quieted down. Gu Jingze then asked someone to find another batch of servants to fill the gap. The people who came this time had already heard about what had happened. Moreover, when they came again, they were directly warned by the butler that they could touch anyone except Madam. If they dared to make Madam feel wronged, they would not be able to live. He didn't need to say much about whether or not this was an alarmist talk. He could directly ask the people who had just been chased away. Of course, none of them could see where those people had been chased to, and no one would want to know how they would be dealt with. Lin Shay saw that the servants in the house had been changed. She suddenly realized that something was wrong. She went out and asked, "Why did they change servants?" A servant replied, "Madam, the previous batch of servants were disrespectful to you, so sir changed them." "Ah, is that okay?" Lin Shay said, "Actually, it's not that disrespectful." The servant said, "Of course it's disrespectful. They think that madam is like other madams and must listen to her husband. But it's not like this in our family. Sir dotes on madam so much, and madam is sir's favorite. They don't understand, so they offended madam, and sir definitely won't forgive them. Actually, it's right that they left. Previously, the house was in a foul atmosphere, and there were rumors everywhere. The Gu family even gossiped about it. We can't stand them for a long time." "Really?" Lin Shay said, "There's such a thing." "Yes, madam, don't worry. The newcomers don't dare to do it anymore. Look at them. They're much more well-behaved." "All right," Lin Shay said, "but don't you think it's not good for your husband to indulge me too much?" Lin Shay also reflected for a moment. She felt that she really didn't fulfill her responsibilities as a wife, and even outsiders couldn't stand it. "How can that be? We know how difficult it was for you to come this far, sir. You're so good. Sir's kindness is worth it. Moreover, madam has never come for sir's money or power. Madam, you and sir really love each other. People who really love each other don't have so many rules." Chapter 950. All right, I think it's strange too. This is in ancient times. There shouldn't be so many rules between a husband and wife. I'm just worried that I might break the rules or something. "Madam, every family has its own rules. You don't know, but some big families have a lot of rules. They are just like the ancient times. But madam, you don't have to worry at all. We don't have these rules. How could sir have the heart to use them on madam? These little hoofs don't understand our family's rules. They don't have them, so they do wrong." Lin Shay said, "It's just life. Why are there so many rules? Forget it. I don't care about this. Newcomers continue to watch over them. Madam, don't worry. They're all honest now." Lin Shay really didn't care about it anymore. It was almost the end of the year. The movie had to be completed at this time, and the reality show also had to do a special. There were already a lot of things to do. Lin Shay finished filming the last scene of the movie and bid farewell to everyone reluctantly. This shooting was probably the happiest she had ever been in a movie. She had become friends with almost the entire crew in Nangongyu. The movie's release date was set after the new year. It wasn't a peak period, but Nangong didn't deliberately choose a time. He was a very casual person when it came to making movies anyway. He just smiled and said to Lin Shay, "It's all for you. It's just in time for the Golden Name Awards." Lin Shay curled his lips. "You're so confident that I can be nominated? Why don't I believe it? Of course I'm confident in my movie. Yes, yes, yes. It's just like how everyone thinks their child is the most beautiful. Go, go, go. When you get the nomination notice for the Golden Name Awards, you can come and thank me. I'll go and sign up after I finish editing." Lin Shay was too lazy to care about him, so he naturally didn't take it seriously. After returning, Gu Jingze said that they were going to attend some banquets before the new year. There were still a few banquets that they had to go to because it was Gu Jingze's first year as the family head. So, some people had to be prepared. Gu Jingze told Lin Shay to prepare first while he went to busy himself. Lin Shay didn't have anything else to prepare. At this time, Abai said that she wanted to go back to the United States for a while. It was also the new year there, but it was just a fun kind of new year, not a traditional new year like theirs. It was just that the Sea country's new year was very interesting, so they casually made a ceremony to have fun. But her father asked her to go back first, so she could only agree. When Lin Shay arrived at the company, Abai was about to leave. She said, "Lin Shay, you even specially came to send me off." "Yeah, how long will you be back?" "I don't know. It'll probably take a few days. If it's short, it'll be a few days. If it's long, it might be more than 10 days. Shuiyang was also behind, looking at Abai. "Be careful over there." "Yeah, when I'm not around, do your show well. Don't be willful." "Yes, don't worry." Shuiyang said, "Come back soon." Abai turned her head and looked at him, not knowing what to say. She took a deep look at him and smiled. Sure enough, she didn't say anything and walked out. Lin Shay felt that the two of them were acting a little strange. He turned to look at Shui Yang and quickly followed them out. Abai, she called. Abai stopped and looked a little sad. Lin Shay said, Abai, what's wrong? Did something happen that I don't know about? Abai turned her head and looked at Lin Shay. My father thinks that I'm old enough to introduce a boyfriend to me, so... Lin Shay suddenly understood. You're going back to see a man? Abai nodded and fiddled with her hands. It should be. Although it's impossible for anything to happen, but... She looked inside and Lin Shay also looked over before saying, Abai, are you wondering why Shui Yang didn't stop you? Abai blushed and lowered her head without saying a word. Lin Shay said, Did you tell Shui Yang that? Abai shook her head. Lin Shay said, Then if you don't say it, how will he understand? Abai said awkwardly, But I always feel that he doesn't have any feelings for me. Otherwise, why hasn't he asked me to go on a date for so long? Lin Shay said speechlessly, Do you think this is America? The boys here are also more shy. If he casually told his friends that he wanted to go on a date, it would seem a little frivolous. He's worried that it would make you unhappy. Is that so? All right, go. I'll help you ask, okay? Abai looked at Lin Shay gratefully. She felt embarrassed, but also a little expectant. Then, tell me if there's anything. Leave it to me. Lin Shay looked at Abai and then looked back inside. Thinking of Shui Yang's appearance, he felt that they were actually quite compatible. Returning inside, Shui Yang was still standing there, holding the railing and looking out the French windows. Lin Shay walked over. Shui Yang, turn around. His face was also a little lonely. He looked at her and pulled the corner of his lips. Sister Che, what are you doing here? Nothing, just looking at the scenery. Lin Shay smiled and said, Looking at the scenery or looking at the people in the scenery? Lin Shay said, Shui Yang, if you don't chase after her, she's going to run away. Shui Yang looked at her. What? Lin Shay said, Bai went back because her father arranged a blind date for her. If you don't chase after her, she might come back with 1 or 2 blonde foreign men. Duh. Shui Yang looked at her in a daze, then lowered his head gloomily. Lin Shay looked at him, feeling strange. What's wrong, Shui Yang? Do you have any concerns? Shui Yang, turn around. Sister Che, she's the daughter of the Wesley family. She has countless assets, but I'm just a poor boy. Hearing this, Lin Shay seemed to understand at once. She looked at Shui Yang. Shui Yang, you're not a poor boy. You're a big star. Besides, love isn't linked to money. She's a bai who has been by your side for so many years. If she didn't like you, how could she have no regrets towards you? Shui Yang looked up. Really? Of course it's true. Shui Yang just thought that he never thought that he would have too much to do with such a person. At first, he didn't think about it, so everything was very easy. He didn't curry favor with her, didn't fawn over her, and didn't treat her as the daughter of the Wesley family. But now, if they were really going to be together, he had to face these problems again. She was the daughter of the Wesley family. Could he? Thinking back to the incident with Lu Yunshi, he always felt that their relationship should be so distant. The disparity in their statuses was also especially great. Chapter 9:51. With such a huge disparity, could they really do it? He said, It's not because of money. I know that the gap between the two of us is too big. I've seen how terrifying this gap is. Those who haven't seen it might say that it's nothing, but I know that those ravines are there, and some of them can't be crossed. Shui Yang said, Wesley's family is a frequent guest on the Forbes list and is a world-famous person, but I'm just a poor kid who has just started out. I know that Abai doesn't care, but there will still be a lot of rumors from outsiders. These are all obstacles, I know. Lin Shay leaned there and tilted his head to look at him. So, what you should think about now is what will happen to these obstacles in the end. Shui Yang, what you need to think about is whether you want Abai or a peaceful life, just like me and Gu Jingze. I've thought that without him, my life might be more peaceful without so much right and wrong. He's so dazzling, and when I'm with him, I might always have to worry about others coveting him. I was also very happy in the few years I was in America, but I still came back because I wasn't as happy as he was. Although there were many ups and downs when I was with him, I still felt very fulfilled. At this time, don't care what others think. Nothing is perfect. It's just like when we buy a house. When you choose a house, you will find that there are always one or two flaws. It's not the type of the house, it's not the floor, it's not the street, it's not the elevator. If you want to choose a perfect one, unless you build it yourself, you have to think about what you want the most and endure everything else. Shuiyang looked at her. Lin Che smiled and patted him on the shoulder. Abai will come back. Or, if you've thought it through, you can go find her. Shuiyang was still standing there, but Lin Che had already stuffed his hands into his pockets and left quickly. It was fine as long as she mentioned a relationship. It was better for the person involved to think about it himself. Lin Che returned home, changed his clothes, and went to the banquet with Gu Jingze. It was just an ordinary year-end banquet, and many big families and country came to attend. Gu Jingze's arrival naturally attracted more attention to the banquet. After all, this was his first year as the patriarch, so after he arrived, everyone was even more respectful to him than before. After entering, Gu Jingze was surrounded by people. Gu Jingze dealt with them calmly. Lin Che said, I'll go put the clothes over there first. It was very cold in winter, so they put on their coats. When they went inside, they handed their coats to the waiter and placed them in a special cabinet. Then they went in. However, there were quite a number of women folk, and there were not enough waiters. There were many people waiting in line, and a few madams who were familiar with them were also chatting with them. They did not seem to be in a hurry. While Lin Che was waiting, he didn't know everyone very well. Some people want to come over and talk to him, but they were still hesitating and didn't dare to come over. Then, a voice came from behind them, causing them to shrink back. Lin Che, why are you standing here? It was the Black Hawk. Lin Che turned around and said, I'm preparing to put my clothes away. I don't know if there's a cabinet to put them in. Black Hawk frowned and pushed the person in front of him away. As soon as everyone saw the Black Hawk, they consciously made way for it. The people of Black Hawk were even less courteous. Get out of the way, don't dawdle. They were directly chasing people away. Lin Che was dumbfounded. However, when everyone saw that the Black Hawk was chasing people away, they didn't dare to say a word and directly walked out. They turned back to look at Lin Che, as if they were filled with fear. In a short while, the place was completely empty. Lin Che looked at the Black Hawk speechlessly. The Black Hawk's people didn't stand on ceremony and hurriedly said, Little miss, please come in. We will wait outside and guard. We will definitely not let anyone in. Lin Che said, It can't be. The Black Hawk said, What's wrong? Aren't you going in to put your clothes? Hurry up and put them in. Lin Che was speechless. She was so shocked by the domineering look on his face that she couldn't say a word. She simply didn't know what to say. However, since they were already chased away, she put the clothes in first. As soon as she entered, the waiter hurriedly ran over. I'm sorry, Mrs. Gu. I made you wait for so long. Here. The waiter looked at the Black Hawk as if he had seen a ghost and hurriedly put the clothes away. After Lin Che was done, she walked out and looked at the people standing outside. They were like gangsters blocking people. Each of them looked fierce and fierce. It was no wonder that they were afraid. She said, All right, don't be so dramatic. The Black Hawk said, Otherwise, how long are you going to wait? They really don't know how to judge people. They even dare to let you wait outside and dawdle while gossiping inside. Why don't they hurry up and get it done? All right, these women were a little dawdling, but they didn't need to be so dramatic. Lin Che rolled her eyes at him and walked out. However, because of what had happened just now, the way the people outside looked at her had changed. The Black Hawk followed behind her. Lin Che said, Wow, don't follow me. Look at how scared they are. The Black Hawk blew at his fingers. That's because they're timid. Hey, you're obviously the one who's too scary, okay? The Black Hawk said, Is that so? Lin Che said, There are so many people following you, and you look like everyone owes you $200. The Black Hawk said, Who here doesn't have a group of people following them? Lin Che turned to look at him. He thought about it and agreed. However, it might be because he was the Black Hawk who was scary to begin with. After all, he was the world's #1 assassin. God knows how she suddenly had a brother like this. Fortunately, Gu Jingze came at this moment. Seeing the Black Hawk behind them, he hugged Lin Che's waist and looked at the Black Hawk. Why are you here? The Black Hawk said, "You can come, but I can't." "What happened just now?" he asked Lin Che. However, the Black Hawk answered first. "How did you take care of my sister? She was waiting outside for a long time just now, but no one cared about her. If I didn't go over, she would still be waiting outside, okay?" Gu Jingzi frowned at Lin Che. What happened? Lin Che was speechless. Nothing. It's just that just now, Black Hawk was calling her sister a little too smoothly, wasn't it? However, Lin Che saw that the people around them were already looking over curiously when they saw the three of them standing together and talking. Lin Che still didn't want others to know about their complicated relationship. Otherwise, when they went out in the future and found out that she was related to the Black Hawk, would they be afraid of her too? She quickly said, Okay, it's okay. Let's go in." She pulled Gu Jingzi and quickly walked in. Gu Jingzi turned back to look at the Black Hawk. The Black Hawk straightaway raised his finger and gestured rudely. Chapter 952. Lin Che said, "You didn't see it just now." He scared a few people so much that they didn't dare to speak. He even brought a lot of people with him and chased them away. "When I came out just now, I saw so many people staring at me and Black Eagle. God, why did I let him be my brother?" Gu Jingzi smiled. "It's nothing, but you didn't see how scary it was when so many people were standing there." Gu Jingzi smiled. There weren't that many people. Just him standing there was scary enough. He's Black Eagle. Duh. Lin Che wanted to say something, but when he looked up, he saw Yun Luo. She was actually here. Lin Che quickly tugged on Gu Jingzi's arm. Gu Jingzi looked over as well. When he saw Yun Luo, he raised his eyebrows and smiled, continuing to walk in with Lin Che. Yun Luo came to the banquet with a few people. She didn't expect to meet Gu Jingzi and Lin Che. She was just here to relax and didn't expect to meet anyone here. Yun Luo turned and left first. Looking at Yun Luo's appearance of nearly running away, Lin Che also felt that it was rather strange. She said, "What's wrong with Miss Yin?" Gu Jingzi glanced at her. "Let's go eat. Don't worry about her." Actually, Lin Che could think of something. Yun Luo probably hated Gu Jingzi for the Yun family's heavy losses in Country M. Yun Luo ran out, feeling very sad for a moment. She didn't expect to meet him here. She didn't expect to meet Gu Jingzi again. Gu Jingzi was too cruel to the Yun family. He actually let the Yun family's status fall just because of Lin Che. She was also very jealous. A man who overturned an entire family because of a woman. How could she not be moved by such a man? Unfortunately, she wasn't someone who was protected by Gu Jingzi. Yun Luo ran out, followed by a few young ladies of similar status. "Yun Luo, why are you running?" Yun Luo turned around. "Why aren't you leaving? What's the point of staying here?" Yun Luo. Everyone sympathized with her. Previously, everyone thought that Yun Luo was going to become Mrs. Gu, who knew that the moment Lin Che returned, he forcefully snatched everything back. That swift and decisive action made everyone sigh. Moreover, Gu Jingzi actually had the ability to flatten the Yun family when everyone was questioning his position as the family head. Although it was still the Yun family, its status was probably not as high as it used to be. It was easy to imagine that the blow Yun Luo received had nearly cost her life. Her plummeting status had caused her to go from being the object of everyone's envy to being the object of ridicule. Everyone looked at Yun Luo and could only comfort her. "Yun Luo, don't care about that Lin Che. That's right. She has some tricks to fool Gu Jingzi. We're girls from decent families. We don't want to use her tricks." At this moment, however, he saw Lin Che walking in from outside. The moment everyone saw Lin Che, their hearts were already filled with resentment. At this moment, they directly took advantage of Yun Luo's presence and used Yun Luo's name to find fault with this woman who had attracted everyone's attention the moment she appeared. "Look, speak of the devil." A few women blocked the way. Seeing Lin Che walking over slowly, they raised their eyebrows and stared in his direction. It wasn't that Lin Che didn't see them. However, since he had already walked over, wouldn't it be too embarrassing for her to retreat when she saw these people? There was nothing for her to be afraid of. Could it be that they would eat her up? Seeing Lin Che swagger over, They were still thinking in their hearts that he was really proud of himself. Seeing them here, he still walked over openly. Was he purposely here to show off? It's not good now. Some wild chickens think that they're phoenixes when they fly up to the branches. God knows how they're swaying around. The woman at the very front said, directly. Lin Che glanced at that woman, then looked at Yin Luo. Yin Luo stood there as if she didn't hear these words. Lin Che said, "Is this kind of trick interesting? Miss Yin, I don't have any grudges with you. You don't need to let a group of cats and dogs block the road and bite people." Cats and dogs? This Lin Che was a little too arrogant. Hey, you know who we are, and you dare to say that we are cats and dogs. A woman put her hands on her waist and looked fierce. Another person said, "That's enough. This kind of lowly person obviously doesn't know who we are. If it wasn't for Gu Jingze, with her status, it would be impossible for her to get within 10 meters of us." That's right. Ignorant people are ignorant people. Lin Che snorted and looked at them. That's right. Even if I were to get within 10 meters of you right now, I would feel uncomfortable. There's an unpleasant smell, and it's very disgusting. You, who do you think you are? How dare you say that about us? That woman looked like she was about to get angry. That person was about to rush up and slap Lin Che. However, Dongzi, who was on the other side, was already prepared. He pressed the man down. Dongzi pushed that person's hand back. "I owe you. Who are you? You actually dared to hit me. Do you know that I am the eldest daughter of the Sun family? My father is the boss of the Guoguang Corporation." Guoguang Corporation? What the hell is that? At this moment, Lin Che heard He Ying's slightly arrogant voice again. Sure enough, seeing He Ying walking over in a black mass, the women's expressions changed slightly. They couldn't help but become more obedient. They looked in the direction of He Ying and murmured, "Mo, Mr. Mo." He Ying waved his hand and walked over. He looked very at ease. "None of you have answered me. What is the Guoguang Corporation?" Guoguang Corporation was the largest lighting company in the country. He actually said that he didn't know. Was that absolutely intentional? Those who were able to attend this banquet all came from families with a certain amount of wealth. However, everyone looked at He Ying. Even if they knew that he did it on purpose, they didn't dare to say anything. Because everyone knew that He Ying was a person who killed people without batting an eye. Just by looking at him walking over, one could feel a dark aura directly engulfing them. Who would dare to go against him? He Ying looked at the people in front of him. "What are you doing here? What are you doing to Lin Che?" The woman who had her hand pinched looked at He Ying. She thought for a moment and said boldly, "She asked someone to hit me. I will definitely tell my father that she dared to hit me." How did Gu Jingze see his wife? She is the wife of the Gu family. How could Uncle Dong hit someone? So what if she hit you? He Ying said slowly. He raised his eyebrows and looked at the woman. Chapter 953. When the woman heard this, her beautiful face froze. "What did you say?" He Ying snorted and gave his underling a look. The people below didn't hesitate either. They slapped the woman who had spoken. The person who was slapped was stunned. "You, what?" He Ying looked at the woman and said softly, "Wasn't that enough?" Although that cold voice was slow and unhurried, it was extremely lethal. She thought of the rumors that He Ying had heard and looked at the people behind him. She glared at them angrily, then at Lin Che and He Ying. "You guys are too much. Aren't you afraid of causing public anger?" He Ying snorted. "What do you mean by public anger? Is it edible?" "You." Lin Che almost burst out laughing. But he had to admit that although He Ying was very arrogant, he had slapped them in the face. It made him feel very happy. No matter what they said, he would say it arrogantly. He wasn't afraid of what they said. What else could they say? Because of He Ying's move, no one dared to say anything. They didn't expect He Ying to not care. These people used to be domineering in their families, and no one dared to bully them. But He Ying didn't care who they were and dared to hit them. He dared to hit them both. He didn't seem to be afraid of offending them at all. At that moment, they felt that their families were small and insignificant in He Ying's eyes. Yin Luo watched from behind. She couldn't take it anymore. She was already angry. She was used to hiding at the back and wanted to see how these people were going to teach Lin Che a lesson. Who knew that Lin Che wouldn't be taught a lesson? Instead, he would hit them. Yin Luo looked at He Ying and walked forward. Mr. Mo, aren't you being a little too nosy today? He Ying looked at Yin Luo and asked, What did you say? Yin Luo bit his lips as he looked at Lin Che. Lin Che, I admit that I have offended you. My relationship with you isn't harmonious enough. However, there is no need for you to complain to Gu Jingze and ask him to use his full strength to suppress the Yun family. Now that my Yin family has suffered a heavy blow because of you, everyone is just feeling indignant on my behalf. That's why we're talking about you here. Aren't you afraid that one day Gu Jingze won't dote on you anymore? Aren't you afraid that everything that happened today will return to you? Yin Luo snorted. Lin Che, I hope that such a day never comes. Otherwise, when that time comes, there won't be so many people protecting you. What did you say? Black Eagle snorted. Since when does Lin Che need Gu Jingze's protection? Yin Luo looked at He Ying. Mr. Mo, I know that you have a good relationship with Gu Jingze, but you don't have to help Gu Jingze protect her. Is it worth it to offend so many people for your friend's wife? Yin Luo's expression was filled with contempt, but Blackhawk merely sneered coldly. Friend's wife? I don't want to offend people for someone else's wife, but if it's for my sister, that's different. Yin Luo was stunned. Lin Che was also stunned. Then he put his hand to his forehead in frustration. What was this He Ying up to this time? But He Ying had already snorted and put his arm around Lin Che's shoulder. I'm warning you. Let's not talk about whether Gu Jingze will have a change of heart towards Lin Che. Even if he does, he won't dare to. I want to see who dares to let my sister down. If he dares, I will definitely make him suffer. However, apart from Gu Jingze, I won't allow anyone to touch Lin Che. Don't talk about offending you guys. If you guys come to me again, I, Mo Jinyin, am not afraid of offending you. Sister? What sister? I don't care who she married or who she didn't marry. In any case, she is my sister now, so I have a responsibility to protect her. At the same time, I will eliminate all those who mistreat us. So, if any of you dare to touch her again, you will be going against me. Frankly speaking, I don't care even if all of you ganged up on me. If you want to go against me, come at me directly. I want to see. His gaze swept across them coldly. Who exactly is it that doesn't want to live anymore? What, his biological sister? The few of them looked on in disbelief, not believing what they had just seen. How could Mo Jinyin be related to Lin Che? However, looking at Mo Jinyin now, if there really wasn't any relationship, he wouldn't be so protective of a woman. This Lin Che's life was too good. He married Gu Jingze, and now he even acknowledged He Ying as his brother. This was He Ying, with him by her side, who would dare to lay a finger on her. Using He Ying's words just now, wouldn't that be courting death? Yin Luo didn't expect He Ying to say that. Looking at the two of them, Yin Luo's lips moved in disbelief. However, like the others, she felt that the dignified He Ying didn't need to lie because of Lin Che. Perhaps he only acknowledged her as his sister, but even if he did, saying it so directly also pulled Lin Che into his protection range. Yin Luo gritted her teeth, but looking at He Ying standing there so high up, Yin Luo didn't dare to say another word. She could only glare at Lin Che. She knew in her heart that she had completely lost to Gu Jingze. Even though she didn't understand why, Gu Jingze didn't even look at her. In his heart, there was only Lin Che. She didn't even have a chance to fight for it. She had completely lost. Seeing this scene, some people had already left from the back with their tails between their legs. The others saw this and hurriedly left as if nothing had happened. Yin Luo forcefully glared at Lin Che before turning around and leaving as well. Lin Che stood there and looked at He Ying with raised brows. She didn't expect him to be so overbearing that sometimes it was quite useful. However, she suspected that soon, everyone here would know that He Ying was her brother. She looked at He Ying and said, "We don't need to be so high profile." He Ying said, "Follow me. Don't be afraid of being high profile." Blackhawk was really used to being arrogant. Lin Che couldn't do anything about it. Looking outside, he seemed to see that everyone was looking at them and talking about them. It was just as she thought. Her relationship with Black Hawk was quietly spreading in this place, and Lin Shay could only sigh and bear it, unable to stop it. Chapter 954. Just as Lin Shay thought, the entire banquet soon found out about Lin Shay and Black Eagle's relationship. Everyone didn't know if Lin Shay was Black Eagle's sister or if the two of them were really related. But since Black Eagle said that Lin Shay was his sister, then she was his sister. Yin Luo had been listening at the side. She was already very unhappy. Soon, she heard them say, with Black Eagle as his backing, Lin Shay will really be able to do whatever he wants in the future. Gu Jingze isn't bad, but Black Eagle is her family, so their relationship is even more different. This Lin Shay's luck is truly off the charts. Look at how cool Black Eagle is by his side. Yin Luo had been living a repressed life since young. She finally had something she wanted, and that was Gu Jingze's love for her. Gu Jingze actually didn't pay much attention to her. Thinking back, he only cared about her a little. He didn't understand her too much. Maybe he was more than a friend, just a business partner. But Yin Luo still kept this care in her heart. She felt very warm. She felt that such a strong man who cared for her made her feel so happy. But this happiness was a little too short-lived. Yin Luo had been a coward all her life and had never really fought for anything. Now that she saw that the moment she fought for it was completely destroyed by Lin Shay, she felt very angry. Yin Luo looked at Lin Shay secretly. She had been standing with Gu Jingze and Black Eagle and basically didn't talk to outsiders. She couldn't find a chance, but she finally saw Lin Shay walking to the side alone. Yin Luo was hiding in a corner. The moment she came out, she slammed into Lin Shay with a bang. Lin Shay grunted and fell to the ground. When she looked up and saw Yin Luo, she felt very annoyed. Why was it her again? Yin Luo, I've already said what I needed to say. What else do you want? Yin Luo, on the other hand, was lying on the ground, clutching his chest and panting heavily. He looked extremely uncomfortable. Lin Shay was stunned. He suddenly remembered that Yin Luo had a heart attack. Lin Shay couldn't tell if she was acting or if she really had a heart attack. She looked at Yin Luo and asked, "What's wrong?" Yin Luo raised his head and looked at Lin Shay with tears in his eyes. His face was filled with indignation. Lin Shay, I don't have anything anymore. You've been ruining my life ever since you came back. You pushed me to the edge and took everything away from me. I know that you saw that I was close to Gu Jingze, so you came back from abroad to take everything away. Now, everything is yours. Are you still not satisfied? Lin Shay frowned. What nonsense are you talking about? Someone hurriedly ran over. Miss Yan's heart is not good. You can't do this. There are also people who looked at Lin Shay in disdain. Seriously, he's already fallen to the ground, and you're not even helping him up. You're even saying that he's talking nonsense. At this moment, the two of them hurriedly said, "Come and help. Miss Yin had a heart attack after being hit by Mrs. Gu." What did she mean by a relapse? It was clearly Yin Luo who had crashed into it. At this moment, Yin Kuoshan, who seemed to have heard this voice, also hurried over. The moment he saw Yin Luo, who was surrounded, and Lin Shay, who was standing to the side, he pushed them aside and walked in furiously. Lin Shay, what did you do to my daughter? At that moment, the onlookers came over again. When they saw Yin Kuoshan come out, they felt that the scene was even more lively. They wanted to see what Lin Shay was going to do now. He had directly knocked into Miss Yin and caused her to have a heart attack. Even if Gu Jingze was on her side, he couldn't let her off the hook. Yin Kuoshan hurriedly squatted down and gave Yin Luo a heart reliever. At this moment, he saw Gu Jingze and Black Hawk rushing over. Seeing the situation at one glance, he lowered his head to look at Yin Luo, who was on the ground. Gu Jingze stuck close to Lin Shay and asked what happened. Yin Kuoshan didn't wait for Lin Shay to answer and shouted, "Gu Jingze, this is how you indulge your wife. Look at how she bullied our child." Yin Luo was knocked into this state by her, and she didn't even apologize. Instead, she stood here as if she was the victim. Let me tell you, even if our Yin family has fallen, we only have this precious daughter. If anything happens to Yin Luo, we'll see each other in court. I'll immediately get someone to examine it. If Yin Luo's heart has any problems because of this, Lin Che won't be able to get away with it. We'll talk at the police station. Lin Che was stunned. She had seen fakers before, but this was the first time she had seen one like this. She turned around and looked at Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze stared at Yin Kuoshan. At this moment, Lin Che suddenly felt his body shake. When everyone saw this, they couldn't help but despise him even more. This Lin Che, no way. Hearing Yin Kuoshan's words, he immediately became so frightened that he couldn't even stand properly. But Gu Jingze didn't think so at all. He hurriedly grabbed Lin Che's arm and looked at Lin Che. What's wrong with you? Lin Che usually wouldn't be so weak, but at this moment, his face looked a little pale. Lin Che shook his head. He still wanted to speak, but Gu Jingze lifted Lin Che up. He turned around and looked at Yin Kuoshan and Yin Luo, who was on the ground with a gaze as sharp as ice. If anything happens to my wife, none of you will live. This threat was much more imposing than what Yin Kuoshan had said just now. Moreover, no one felt that his expression was just words said in a moment of anger. But they felt that Gu Jingze was definitely someone who would do what he said. Yin Kuoshan watched him leave. Everyone was still looking at this scene in shock. At this moment, they weren't just watching the show. They were thinking that Yin Kuoshan and Gu Jingze wouldn't fight because of this collision. In this year, because of the change in the position of the Gu family's patriarch, there had been some changes in the relationships between these wealthy families, so there have been many conflicts among these top wealthy families. If the Yin family and the Gu family were to fight like this again, it would be a lot of drama. Yin Kuoshan didn't know what to do now, but thinking of how Gu Jingze bullied him, he was emboldened and asked someone to pull Yin Luo up. Luo, don't worry. If anything happens to you, even if the Yin family goes bankrupt, we won't let her off. Lin Che, just you wait. However, inside, Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che. How are you? Lin Che shook his head. I'm fine. I just felt really uncomfortable just now. My chest feels tight. I'll get someone to check. It should be fine. Lin Che pulled him. No, I'll get someone to check right now. Listen to me and don't move, he said to her domineeringly with a stern face. Chapter 955. As he spoke, he picked up his phone and called a doctor to check on Lin Che's body. Before the doctor came, he squatted down and looked at Lin Che. He caressed her leg and said, "Don't be so busy next time. You've been too tired recently." Not really. I feel fine at other times. I don't feel tired. Apart from going to work every day, I have servants to help me. How tired can I be? I was just angered by Miss Yin just now. Gu Jingze looked at her, his heart aching. But he also knew that she was a competitive girl. She couldn't be a good wife and a loving mother just because he asked her to stop. And if he had to cut off her wings and stop her from flying, his heart would ache even more. When the doctor came, he saw Gu Jingze squatting beside her and looking at Lin Che worriedly. He hurried in and said, "Sir." Gu Jingze stood up and stared at him. "Check on Madam. Do it thoroughly." "Yes. Don't worry, sir." The family doctors had always been more careful with Lin Che than with Sir. They knew that Sir valued Lin Che more than they did, so they didn't dare to be negligent. Soon, they tested her blood and checked her heart. Everything was done. Looking at the test results, the doctor said, "Oh my God, oh my God." Gu Jingze furrowed his brows and asked, "What happened?" The doctor turned around and saw the anxious look in Gu Jingze's eyes. He hurriedly said, "Sir, don't worry. It's good news. Madam's progesterone is rising. We suspect that she's pregnant." The doctor didn't dare to say that she was pregnant. If it wasn't, his life would be in danger. So he only dared to say that he suspected that she was pregnant. As soon as he finished speaking, Gu Jingze and Lin Che were stunned. Pregnant? This was definitely not part of their plan. Lin Che and Gu Jingze hadn't planned or thought about it. But sometimes, she would forget to take protective measures. She had been fine all this while, but she didn't expect to fall for it this time. Gu Jingze took a long time to react. He squatted down again and looked up at Lin Che. "You're pregnant?" Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze's happy smile and felt a warmth in her heart. She suddenly came back to her senses. It seemed that pregnancy really wasn't a bad thing. If she could make him so happy, she suddenly didn't have any other concerns. Gu Jingze held Lin Che's face and looked at her. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. The two of them looked at each other speechlessly and suddenly burst into laughter. However, Gu Jingze immediately thought of Yin Luo's move just now. He turned around, and his gaze became much sharper. The doctors were shocked, thinking that something was wrong. Gu Jingze said, "Madam was hit just now. Can you take a look at her to see if she's okay?" Hearing this, the doctor quickly said, "Yes, we'll check it now." The doctor asked Lin Che when his last period was. After some calculations, he realized that he hadn't even been pregnant for 2 months, but he should be able to do an ultrasound soon. They did a simple ultrasound machine and found some traces of the child. The other things in the uterus were also healthy. Only then did the doctor let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that Madam was fine. He quickly turned around and said, "Sir, Madam seems to be fine. The child is also very healthy, but we can only see a little bit now because it's the early stages. We can't check too many things yet." Lin Che also heaved a sigh of relief. However, he saw that Gu Jingze was still standing there. The haze on his face had yet to dissipate. It looked as if his entire body was immersed in ice. A murderous look flashed across his eyes, causing people's hearts to tremble. Lin Che quickly sat up. "Gu Jingze is fine now." Gu Jingze lowered his head and said, "If Yin Luo had hit with more force just now, you and the child might not have been able to see each other." Thinking of the scene just now, Gu Jingze felt a lingering fear in his heart. If the child had been hit just like that he would definitely go and kill the Yin family right now. However, even if nothing happened, he definitely wouldn't allow such an accident to happen. Gu Jingze shivered all over. He turned around and said, "Prepare a helicopter for me. We're going to the hospital. At the same time, inform the Yin family that they can forget about running amok in Country C. I'll make them leave Country C." Lin Che's heart skipped a beat. She quickly went over to hold Gu Jingze back. "Gu Jingze, don't be like this." She didn't want him to get angry over something that didn't happen and cause big trouble. Gu Jingze lowered his head and looked at her. "If we weren't lucky just now, the child might have been gone. No, we're fine now. And because of this, I only found out that we're already pregnant." Gu Jingze shook his head. "It's not because of this. I can't tolerate them having any designs on you. I can't imagine what would happen to you if something like this happened. No, I definitely won't allow the Yun family to appear in any corner of Country C. Otherwise, you and the child won't be safe." Lin Che said, "Then will there be a big fight?" "There will definitely be a fight, but it won't be that tragic. Now that the Yun family is in a mess, it'll be easy to drive them out of Country C in one fell swoop." Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes. His eyes were filled with endless hostility. They deserved it for daring to make a move on Lin Che that day. Gu Jingze took Lin Che away from the banquet in a helicopter. On the other side, the Yun family also received a warning. Yin Quishan was still looking after Yin Luo in the hospital. He called out Gu Jingze and Lin Che's names hatefully and said to someone, "Get someone to give me a medical report immediately. Just say that Lin Che's accident caused Yin Luo to be critically ill. Let's see how Gu Jingze is going to protect Lin Che." Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, someone ran in from outside and said hurriedly, "Old master, bad news. Gu Jingze sent someone to tell us that he wants us to leave Country C. He also said that this time, he won't let the Yin family off." Yin Quishan shuddered. "This kid, what did he mean?" He said, "Did he really say that? What a big tone. Does he really want to go to war?" Yes, the person who came said it. Said it directly. What are you stammering for? Just say it directly. Just say it directly and tell us to get out of Country C, or they'll uproot the entire Yun family." This time, Yin Quishan's body swayed completely. What did Gu Jingze mean by this? Was Gu Jingze really going to be heartless to the end and destroy the Yun family at all costs? Impossible. How could this happen all of a sudden? Yin Quishan thought of something and hurriedly said, "Find out for me what happened just now that made Gu Jingze suddenly want to kill the Yun family." Chapter 956. Because the Yin family had specially sent people to ask around. Not long after, they found out that Lin Che was pregnant. Lin Che was actually pregnant. Yin Quishan suddenly understood why Gu Jingze had been so angry at that time. Could it be that Yin Luo's attack had almost caused Lin Che's child to have an accident? In the hospital, Lin Che had checked her body and found that she was in good health and all her indicators were basically normal. She just needed to go back and take care of the baby. Gu Jingze was relieved. When he brought Lin Che home, Gu Jingze said, "Behave yourself at home and don't be too busy." He paced back and forth, helping Lin Che pack up his things, not letting Lin Che move at all. When she got up to take a cup, Gu Jingze would press her down. Lin Che said, "I don't have much to do now. I'm just going to record a few episodes of a reality show. This season's reality show will end, and I'll probably only appear next season after I give birth. The movie is also done, and I'm just waiting for it to be released. I could put down some work and rest." Gu Jingze said, "You're still going to shoot a reality show?" Lin Che said, "I've already signed the contract. When the time comes, I'll inform the director. There are still 2 more episodes, and we have to finish filming eventually. Don't worry, our reality show isn't that intense. Most of the time, we'll just make it more effective. There won't be any problems." But Gu Jingze was still worried. Looking at Lin Che, he was already thinking to himself that he needed to personally speak to the director of the reality show and ask him to make the show as gentle as possible. On the other side, naturally, Black Eagle had heard about it. He smiled and didn't say anything. He was happy that Lin Che was living a good life with Gu Jingze. After all, she was his younger sister. He hoped that she could live a good life because he had never experienced what responsibility was. Having this younger sister gave him an unparalleled sense of responsibility. Black Eagle quite liked this feeling too. It made him feel as though life had some other meaning. When he returned, someone was waiting outside the door. When he saw Black Eagle, he said hurriedly, "Sir, I just heard that someone went to harass Miss Mu again." Black Eagle frowned. "Go and see what's going on." Mu Firen couldn't believe it. Were these people robbers? When she came back today, she saw many people from the court at her house. As soon as they arrived, they were pasting notes to seal up something, which made people feel very speechless. Mu Firen hurriedly walked over and asked them what they were doing. The people from the court looked at Mu Firen and said, "Miss Mu, we found out through a report that this is the property of you and your husband after your marriage. You're going to divorce, so these properties will be temporarily frozen. When the divorce lawsuit comes and the court makes a decision, we will see whose properties these belong to. Only then will we unfreeze them." What nonsense are you guys talking about? I signed a prenuptial agreement with M.O. Ding. These things are mine, not his. Miss, we don't know about this, but Mr. M.O. has evidence to prove that the prenuptial agreement is invalid. When you signed it, you didn't have the impartiality of the notary office. Moreover, Mr. M.O. signed the agreement when he was unconscious, so we have to check the legality of the agreement first. Mu Firen immediately understood that this was the M.O. clan's doing. After all, their family had been residents of Beast City for so many years. They had long been deeply rooted in the city. It was understandable that they had some connections in the court. Mu Firen pointed at the door angrily and said, "Get out. All of you, get out." The people from the court looked at her strangely. Then they heard someone's voice coming from outside with a hint of smugness. "Wow, this villa is not bad." It was the people from the M.O. clan. They walked in with M.O. Ding and Wei Jingjing. M.O. Firen's mother looked at the villa as if she was admiring her own home. She looked disgusting. Mu Firen looked at them and said, "Who allowed you to enter my house?" The few of them had already swaggered in. Their appearance was truly repulsive. When M.O. Firen's mother heard Mu Firen's words, she said in surprise, "What house? You and M.O. Ding are husband and wife. Isn't this his house?" "You," M.O. Firen's mother said, "how dare you say that you don't have money? This house is so good. How dare you say that you don't have money? You're really greedy. You'd rather not divorce for money. I've never seen a woman as greedy as you." What kind of logic was this? They coveted her money, but she didn't give it to them. Now she was accused of being greedy. Mu Firen said, "What are you doing here?" I'll call the police. I'll report you for trespassing. Mo Fearon's mother looked at Mu Fearon and said helplessly, Mu Fearon, it's your fault for not divorcing quickly. Our Mo Ding is anxious to marry Jingjing. Jingjing is pregnant. Let me tell you. Pregnant? No wonder they were so anxious. Mu Fearon looked at Wei Jingjing, who was standing beside Mo Fearon's mother. When she heard this, she raised her belly and looked very pleased with herself. Initially, the Mo clan had not considered marrying Wei Jingjing into the family. However, Wei Jingjing had suddenly become pregnant. They were anxious to see Mo Ding have a child, so they had reluctantly agreed. But no matter what, she was a child of the Mo clan. Mu Fearon said, if you're anxious to get married, all you have to do is sign a divorce agreement. Huh, in your dreams. You have so much money. If you don't give some of it to Mo Ding, you'll make him waste so much time. How can you be so shameless? Mo Ding has wasted so much of his youth because of you. Otherwise, our family would have been full of children and grandchildren. It's because he married you, a woman who had an affair with someone else, that he still has no children. Mu Fearon's expression changed. Watch your mouth. What did she mean by having an affair? Mom, why are there so many people at home? At this moment, Yun came out from behind, rubbing her eyes. She felt a little strange and timid when she saw these people. Mu Fearon was stunned. Her expression immediately softened, for she was worried that she had scared Yun. She turned around and picked up Yun. Then, she said to Yun, it's all right. Mom will take you out first. However, Mo Fearon's mother blocked her way before she could take 2 steps. Hey, Mu Fearon, this is the bastard, right? Mo Fearon's mother sized up Yun impolitely. Looking at Yun's beautiful appearance, she snorted and said, she looks like a coquettish fox like you. Indeed, she can't be the flesh and blood of the Mo clan. How can you speak like this in front of child? Mu Fearon was exasperated. How could these people be so evil? They wouldn't even let such a young child off. Mu Fearon covered Yun's ears and rushed out with the child in her arms. Get out of the way. Let me out. Oh, what's the matter? If you can't stand it, you can sign the agreement now and give Mo Ding all the money he deserves. Otherwise, we won't let you off so easily. Chapter 9:57. Mu Fearon laughed coldly. So, if I don't agree, will you come here every day to make trouble? Mo's mother did not speak. She only raised her head and looked at her. Her expression was self-explanatory. Mo Fearon's mother looked at Mu Fearon in disdain. Look at you. You're so concerned about such a small amount of money. Humph. Fortunately, Mo Ding didn't really keep you in the Mo family. Otherwise, the Mo family's money would have been taken by a greedy woman like you sooner or later. Mo's mother pointed at Yun. How could Mu Fearon tolerate this? She slapped Mo's mother's hand away. Mo's mother said in disbelief, Huh, did you just hit me? You hit me, didn't you? As she spoke, she shouted at the people behind her. Quick, come and see. The people from the court are still here, but she's about to hit someone. Mu Fearon held Yun in one arm and looked at the woman in front of her. If you dare say such things again and insult my daughter, I won't let you off. Mo's mother was startled by Mu Fearon's imposing manner. She had not expected that a woman would dare to go against her in front of so many people. However, Mo's mother immediately remembered that everyone here was her people. What could Mu Fearon do alone? Why won't he let her off? Let me tell you, money is useless. There are many rich people in B City. The Mo family doesn't care about your money, but we don't want you to take it away for free. At this moment, the sound of footsteps was heard from outside. Then, a black figure barged in. When he saw Mo's mother pointing in the direction of Yun and Mu Fearon, there was a fierce look in his eyes. He walked over and pushed Mo's mother away. Mo's mother was pushed aside. The force almost made her fall to the ground. How dare that bastard push me? She cried out involuntarily. She turned around and met the black eagle's eyes. Mo's mother almost screamed at the eagle's intimidating gaze. The black hawk took a step forward. As soon as Yun saw the black hawk, Her frightened little face lifted up, and she called out, "Uncle Mo." Black Hawk walked over and looked at Mufirin. What happened here? Mufirin looked at the Black Hawk and felt her eyes moisten in an instant. Why? Why did he always appear whenever something happened to her? Mufirin shook her head, looked inside, and said, "They said they wanted to freeze my money." Haing chuckled and took Yin with one hand. His cold eyes swept over the people in front of him. At this moment, Mo Win's mother had already stood up straight. When Mo Win's mother saw the man who had suddenly entered, she said angrily, "Where did you come from? Why are you meddling in other people's business? Huh? Don't tell me you're the father of this bastard." Mufirin's heart shook when she heard this. She looked at Mo Win's mother angrily, and then quickly looked at the man in front of her. She was sorry that Mo Win's mother had brought him into this. However, just as she was about to speak, she was stopped by Black Hawk. The Black Eagle looked at Mo Win's mother with his black eyes. "Why? So what if I am?" Mufirin froze on the spot. What was he talking about? Mufirin understood that he was speaking up for her because he was here to help her. However, there was no need for him to do this. Mo Win's mother burst out laughing. "I told you, Mufirin. Look, your adulterer is here now. Why aren't you getting a divorce? What are you doing?" Black Hawk snorted. "Divorce? Why isn't she getting a divorce? She's getting a divorce right away. Bring the agreement over and we'll sign it right away." Mufirin hurriedly grabbed his arm. Black Hawk turned around and said, "Why? Look at this man. Is he still a man? What's the point of staying married to a man like him? You should feel disgusted even if you're on the same page as him." Mufirin gritted her teeth and looked at Mo1. "That's true, but I won't give them a single cent of my money." "Money?" Black Hawk asked with a frown. Mo Win's mother laughed and said, "Why? Don't tell me you think it's so easy to get a divorce. Let me tell you, they'll split the money equally and we'll get a divorce." So that was what was going on. Black Hawk smiled with understanding. He was contemptuous and overbearing. He said, "Get out. Didn't you hear what she said? There's no money." And Mo Win's mother placed her hands on her hips and said, "All right, then don't get a divorce. Otherwise, we'll go to court. Let's see. After wasting time, the money will still be ours. Don't you regret it then?" Mo Win's mother looked inside. The people inside had already put up the notes and were watching the commotion. Mufirin said angrily, "It's not legal for you to freeze my things like this. I don't believe that's how the court does things. We're doing everything according to procedure. Humph, from today onwards, the things in this house aren't yours anymore." Mo Win's mother said. Black Hawk snorted and stopped Mufirin, who was about to argue. Talking to Czar is like playing the lute to a cow. You ask them to put up the notes, and I'll ask them to tear them apart. Haing glanced at the people outside. The people outside had already rushed in quickly and directly went in to pull off the stickers that had just been pasted one by one. The people inside did not expect this and looked at the scene in astonishment. "Hey, what are you trying to do? These are the notes from the court." Mo Win's mother had not expected this person to be so overbearing. She raised her head and made a scene. "What are you doing? Do you want to die? How dare you go against the people from the court? I think you want to go to the police station." Black Hawk snorted and said nonchalantly, "All right, it's just going to the police station. I don't mind, but I don't know who would dare to arrest me." What? This man was too arrogant. Mo Win's mother was so angry that her face darkened. She said immediately, "What are you looking at? Hurry up and put the notes back on." Black Hawk said, "Where are you? Chase these self-righteous idiots out." The people from the court had never seen such a daring person, but they saw that he had brought so many people with him and that they were not afraid of anything. They listened to his orders and immediately took action. They had been like this since they were young. They were afraid that this man was not a kind person. Mo Win's mother looked at these people and shouted, You're really out of control." Black Hawk looked at the three people in front of him. He looked at Mo Ding, who was cowering and did not dare to speak. He looked at Wei Jingjing, who was pale with fright. Then he looked at Mo Win's mother and said, "Throw these three out as far as possible." You dare." Mo Win's mother shouted, but she was still pushed out by a few people. Mo Win's mother fell at the door. She was so angry that she covered her butt. Where did this bastard come from? Why isn't he afraid of the people from the court? Chapter 958. At this moment, Wei Jingjing, who was at the side, fell to the ground and immediately clutched her stomach. Ouch! Ouch! My stomach! When Mo Ding's mother saw this, her face turned pale. She quickly ran over and pulled Wei Jingjing up. Jingjing, Jingjing, what's wrong? My stomach hurts. Mom, what should I do? Well, my child. Mo Ding's mother shouted angrily. They're out of control. They've killed someone. Just you wait. I'll call the police immediately. Mo Ding also hurriedly looked at Wei Jingjing, but in fact, he didn't have any feelings towards the child. The child was accidentally impregnated by Wei Jingjing. He always thought that he had taken good precautions, but it was a pity that Wei Jingjing was careful and somehow got pregnant. Hence, Mo Ding was not anxious. He thought that the child was gone. As they walked to the hospital, Mo Ding's mother called the police on the way. She said that someone had beaten them up and caused their child to have problems. Mo Ding's mother snorted and said, I'll sue them to death today. Do they think they'll be fine after doing this to us? Many people from the court saw them drive us out. They can't go back on their word. Mo Ding wanted to say that the person was not an ordinary person, but seeing that Mo Ding's mother was so angry, he did not say anything. Mu Firen looked at Black Eagle and said, Thank you for coming. Black Eagle asked his men to remove the notes one by one. He turned around and said, If we don't get a divorce, Yin Yin will suffer too. Mu Firen said, I want a divorce too, but they want my money and I won't give it to them. Black Eagle turned around and thought for a moment. Then, he walked slowly to Mu Firen and lowered his head to look at her deeply. Mu Firen's heart raced uncontrollably when she was stared at by those pitch-black eyes. Black Eagle said, Tell me first, do you really want a divorce? Mu Firen did not dare to look at him. She felt that his gaze was poisonous. Yes, I do. Black Eagle said, If you want, I can help you. Mu Firen was stunned. She lifted her head and looked at him with her bright eyes. I just feel that it's too much trouble for you. Don't say things like trouble to me again. Black Eagle enunciated each word. He lowered his head domineeringly and stared into her eyes. He reached out and placed his finger on her lips. Such an ambiguous posture made Mu Firen feel suffocated in an instant. She could smell the faint scent of tobacco on his fingers. Her mouth was slightly agape as she looked at him. He said, Say no more. That look was like a strong mark directly imprinted on her heart, causing her heart to beat uncontrollably. God, this man. Doesn't he know that this is very ambiguous? Mu Firen immediately looked away, and her face couldn't help but turn red. Black Hawk turned his head away. His face was still expressionless as he said indifferently, All right, leave this matter to me. You just need to look after Union. Mu Firen didn't dare to look at her again and only said, Thank you then. At this time, some policemen came to Mu Firen's house. Duh. Mu said, Mu Firen, right? Someone said that someone in your family beat someone up and caused a pregnant woman to have a miscarriage. Mu Firen was stunned. What do you mean by beating someone and causing a miscarriage? Don't say anything. Come with us, the policeman said. The police officer said as he walked forward. He saw that it was a famous person, and he even had the intention to curry favor with her. He wanted to say that he was here to pull her up, and it could be considered that he had touched a famous person. Who would have thought that Black Hawk would suddenly walk out from behind? Take your hand off me. The policeman was stunned. He saw that there was someone else. Then, he realized that there was more than one person. The policeman was so scared that he took a few steps back. It's you, right? You hit a pregnant woman and caused her to miscarry. Black Eagle said, It has nothing to do with her. I hit her. Let's go. Don't you want to go? I'll go with you. The policeman swallowed his saliva. No matter how he looked at it, he felt that the way he spoke was not like a normal citizen. Could it be that Mu Firen had some power behind her? He said, Let's go. Humph, don't try to play tricks. If you do, I'll report you for assaulting the police. Haing couldn't be bothered with him and directly walked out. Mu Firen said hurriedly, Black Eagle said, When you prepare the divorce agreement, bring it with you. I'll call you later and ask you to bring it. Huh? Okay. Fearin looked at Black Eagle. Looking at the expression on his face, she could not help but believe what he said. Soon, Black Eagle arrived at the police station. However, when he entered and the policeman was about to stop him, he raised his hand and said, "Ask your bureau chief, Chun, to interrogate me. I don't want anyone else." The policeman saw that this person was so arrogant that Black Eagle looked at the policeman calmly. "What? Our bureau chief is busy. He doesn't have time for you." "Huh. I'll call him and ask him what he's busy with," Black Eagle said as he picked up the phone. The policeman was shocked. However, Black Eagle's call went through. "Bureau Chief Chun, he's a busy man. I want you to interrogate me, but he doesn't have time." And Mr. M.O. The person on the phone ran down the stairs after hearing the call. However, what was not right was that he came with a bow and directly invited them inside. In the hospital, M.O. Fan's mother looked at the disappointing Wei Jingjing angrily. The child was gone, and she still had the cheek to eat on the bed. M.O. Fan's mother said, "Eat, eat, eat. You only know how to eat." Wei Jingjing said, "Mom, I'm recuperating so that I can have another child." M.O. Fan's mother glared at her. The child was gone, and she still wanted to get married? There was no future. She would not say it now, but when they were outside, she pulled M.O. Ding aside and said, "It's good that the child is gone. You don't have to get married. However, we have to make use of this child. When she comes, we'll make her pay for it. If she doesn't, we'll sue her for murder." "Humph," M.O. Fan's mother said. "No, I have to inform the media about this. The famous Mu Fearin actually hit a pregnant woman." M.O. Ding said, "Mom." M.O. Fan's mother said, "Why? Do you feel sorry for her?" M.O. Ding did not want his family to make a scene. However, his company was in a crisis, and he had no money. He had to rely on his family's help. He could only watch as M.O. Fan's mother made a scene. He thought about it. Actually, he was the one who had built Mu Fearin. He could not bear to destroy her. However, M.O. Wen's mother had already made the call. She said directly into the phone, "Reporter, I have big news about Mu Fearin. I'll send it to you exclusively." She caused trouble and caused a pregnant woman to miscarry. Chapter 959. Asterisk, the reporters were very interested and immediately said that they wanted to interview them. When the police arrived, the reporters were still there, looking at M.O. Wen's mother and saying something with tears streaming down her face. When M.O. Wen's mother saw that the police had arrived, she quickly got up. The reporters hurried away. This was big news. It was first-hand news. Once it got out, the media would go viral. M.O. Wen's mother said, "Look, our pregnant lady has had a miscarriage. Her child is gone. Where are they? Have they caught them?" The police looked at them speechlessly. These people had almost caused them to be in big trouble. M.O. Wen's mother was about to speak when she saw Black Eagle walking over from behind. When M.O. Wen's mother saw Black Eagle, she was puzzled. You. Black Hawk walked in and brought Mu Fearin, who was behind him, to this place. M.O. Wen's mother snorted coldly. A pair of despicable men and women. How dare they come? When Black Eagle's men heard this, they immediately slapped her. M.O. Wen's mother was hit, and she said angrily, "Police, look, they're hitting us." The police smiled sheepishly and did not dare to interfere. M.O. Wen's mother then realized that something was wrong. She looked at the smiling police and glared at them. "Have you been bribed by him? Are you going to ignore us now?" Black Hawk directly took the divorce agreement from Mu Fearin. "Here's the divorce agreement. Sign it now." When M.O. Wen's mother saw it, she laughed coldly and said, "Ha, you're here for this. Let me tell you, no way. I'm not signing it." Black Eagle said, "You have to sign it. Hurry up and sign it." M.O. Wen's mother said, "Give me half of the money and I'll sign it." Black Hawk snorted and said directly to the police, "These people are now swindling us. They obviously can't keep their child anymore, but they say that we aborted it so that they can compensate us. Now we want the money to give them an appraisal to see if the child can't be kept in the first place, so they deliberately went there to make trouble. If it's me, please arrest them for me." When M.O. Wen's mother heard this, her eyes widened. "What nonsense are you talking about? The police won't believe you." Black Eagle said, I have the ability to stand here now. Do you think the police will believe me more or you? Mo.'s mother was speechless. Black Hawk asked someone to hold down Mo Ding, who didn't dare to make a sound. Sign it now, or I don't know what my people will do. Mo Ding, who was pressed down, was naturally unwilling to accept this. He turned around and shouted at Mu Fearin. Mu Fearin, is this how you treat me? First, you seduced others and gave birth to a bastard. Now, you find someone to deal with me. Hei Ying's eyes darkened. He grabbed Mo Ding's clothes and picked him up like a kitten. I'll tell you one more time. Yin Yun is not a bastard. Yin Yun is my daughter. Do you understand me now? The few of them were shocked again. Is this for real? Was it his? Everyone couldn't believe it. But if it wasn't true, who would acknowledge a daughter who had nothing to do with them? Not to mention them. Even Mu Fearin was stunned. She looked at Black Eagle in shock, but she suddenly thought that perhaps he said that because of Yin Yun. He deliberately said that, so that they wouldn't call Yin Yun a bastard. She was grateful, but she also felt that she had let him down. However, Mo Ding's mother believed it after thinking about it. She felt that if Yin Yun was not her daughter and had not seduced Mu Fearin a long time ago, she would not have worked so hard. She snorted. They're indeed a pair of adulterers. Mu Fearin, look, this is how you married Mo Ding. How can you still say that you don't want a divorce? Black Hawk said, you're the one who got the better of me by marrying you. You can't blame others for not appreciating it. Humph, hurry up and sign it. Otherwise, none of you will leave this room today. Mo Ding's mother shouted at the police, is there no law? Black Hawk said, talk about law? Don't mistreat this word. Mo Ding's mother was furious. However, she had no choice but to look at how she couldn't get anything done. Mo Ding gritted his teeth and looked at Mu Fearin. Mu Fearin, who had lost all hope in him, turned her head away. Mo Ding snorted and said, all right, I'll sign it. Mu Fearin, I hope that you'll be happy for the rest of your life after the divorce. Don't come begging me again when you're dumped by someone else. Black Hawk said, don't worry, she'll be happy for the rest of her life. A person like you doesn't deserve her happiness. Mo Ding signed his name. Behind him, Mo Ding's mother said angrily, Ding, don't sign it. It's a lot of money. You're letting them off easy. However, once he signed it, it became effective. Black Hawk asked someone to bring the agreement to Mu Fearin so that she could take it away. Then, he turned to look at them and said, all right, it doesn't matter now. However, I did beat up your family. I'll pay for their medical fees. He stretched out his hand and asked the person beside him for a few red banknotes. Then he scattered them on the floor. Take your time. With that, he flicked his sleeves and walked out arrogantly. Mo Ding's mother was so angry that her face turned purple. However, the police did not do anything. They could only look at Mo Ding's family. They felt that Mo Ding's family had brought this upon themselves. They had asked for money from a woman for a divorce. If she didn't give them money, they wouldn't get a divorce. That was unmanly. Mo Ding's mother looked at the police officer and shrieked angrily. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? Why didn't you do anything just now? Why did you let this person bully us so lawlessly? The police officer said, that's enough. We've already asked the hospital. They said that your child is indeed unstable. That's why she died after sitting on the floor. It has nothing to do with them. Besides, the court has also said that you were the ones who broke into the house. Of all people, you provoked Black Hawk. Aren't you asking for death? Who? What Hawk? Mo Ding's mother asked. The police officer said, that's Black Hawk. You don't even know who he is, and you called the police. Aren't you ashamed? The policeman casually signed his name and walked out. Mo Ding's mother looked at Mo Ding and asked, what's going on? Mo Ding sighed and said, Mom, that's Black Hawk. He's the world's top assassin. WH. What? Mo Ding said, he's a proper businessman now, but he's still a mafia boss. We can't win against him. How? How'd he know Mu Fearin? Mo Ding found it strange as well. I don't remember Mu Fearin knowing such a person in the past, but he said that he's the child's father. That's strange. Could it be that Mu Fearin knew such a person behind my back? Why didn't I know about it? You. You must have been cheated by him. I owe our family's money. How much money is that? You didn't get a single cent, Humph. Luckily, I've already informed the media. When the whole nation knows about this, I'll see what Mufirin will do then. Chapter 960. Mufirin got the divorce agreement. On the way back, she was overjoyed. Looking at Mo Ding's signature, she felt an indescribable joy. She was as relaxed as a bird. She looked at her contract of slavery and thought back to the time when she got married. She never thought that one day she would feel that this marriage was a form of slavery. Black Hawk looked at her from the side. You're single now. Mufirin looked up at him and said gratefully, Thank you. If it weren't for you, I don't know how long it would have taken. I didn't do anything, Black Eagle said. I just gave him a warning by violent means. Mufirin said, although I have some savings over the years, I didn't have any connections because I trusted Mo Ding too much. He is different. His family has a lot of connections in City B, so it's easy for him to do something. If it were me, I might not be able to handle it. But it's different with your help. And thank you for saying those words. Her voice became muffled and a little lingering. Black Eagle turned his head. What words? Mufirin lowered her head. I said Yunyun is your daughter. Hey Ing looked at her. I really hope that Yunyun is my daughter. Wasn't that too ambiguous? Mufirin raised her head and looked at the eagle. However, Black Hawk had already turned his head and looked forward with an indifferent expression. There was a hint of a smile on his face that was tainted with a hint of ambiguity. It was very tempting. Mufirin's series of events caused a stir in the quiet entertainment circle at the end of the year. Mufirin, who had disappeared for a long time, reappeared in everyone's sight together with the news that she had beaten a pregnant woman and caused her to miscarry. Everyone felt strange. They didn't know when Mufirin returned to China and why she appeared in this kind of news. Lin Che was at home at the moment. When she heard about this on the news, she was also shocked. At this time, Mufirin suddenly called him. Lin Che. Mufirin said. Lin Che said, I saw the news. Are you okay? Mufirin smiled and said, It's all right. Don't worry about this news. I will have a piece of news coming out soon. When it comes out, it will probably suppress this piece of news. What news? Lin Che asked. Mufirin said, the news about my divorce. Oh, you're divorced? Lin Che almost jumped up. You got a divorce? Yes, we signed the agreement today. How did you succeed? Wasn't it very troublesome before? Yes, Mo Jinyan made it for me. Lin Che was stunned. When he thought of Black Hawk, he felt a little strange for a moment. After all, he was her biological brother now. However, she did not forget that He Ing was Yunyun's biological father. She said, he's so helpful. Yeah, I didn't expect him to be so helpful. Anyway, I don't have a management company, and I don't want to organize a press conference to talk about this. So I hope to do it in the name of your studio. Wow, didn't you give us a hot search? Huh, who are we? I can't bear to give it to someone else. Hearing her relaxed voice, Lin Che knew that she had been repressed enough these years. Well, are you still not going to make a comeback? Lin Che asked. Mufirin said, I haven't thought about it yet. I have enough money now, but I want to save more for Yunyun. After all, I'm alone now, and I want her to live a better life. So, I'll see. Okay. Anyway, I'll help you with the press conference. To hold a press conference, she naturally had to inform the media first, then prepare the venue and organize the staff. Her company had professionals to do these things, and she just needed to give instructions. In the past few days, Mufirin's news had directly burned the whole entertainment circle. After all, she was the most popular actress in the past. Everyone marveled at the news of her reappearance and wondered if Mufirin was going to make a comeback with such a big news. If so, Lin Che would be in danger again. Mufirin's popularity had just risen, but it was beaten down by her comeback. However, unexpectedly, Lin Che's studio suddenly released the news that they would hold a press conference for Mufirin. Lin Che's studio first released a press release, saying that Mufirin had divorced. This news caused an uproar in the entertainment circle again. In terms of popularity, Mufirin had always been at the top of the list, and no one had been able to break through it for a long time. Everyone also noticed that Mu Firen actually asked Lin Che's company to hold a press conference. Therefore, under everyone's expectation, the press conference was directly held downstairs of Lin Che's company. Lin Che accompanied Mu Firen in the company. Everyone looked at the former actress. She was dressed very ordinarily today, but she was still an actress after all, and her momentum was unstoppable. Lin Che was also dressed very simply next to her, so that the press conference would start in a serious state, instead of making it look like a publicity stunt. Everyone looked at Mu Firen from behind and sighed. They didn't expect that the former actress had also divorced and would hold a press conference to explain. The entertainment circle was really changing rapidly, which made people sigh. Soon, the press conference began. When Lin Che and Mu Firen arrived at the press conference together, all the lights, cameras, and microphones were facing them. Mu Firen sat down and looked at everyone. Actually, it's very simple. I've known Mo Ding for many years, and I always thought that my marriage was on the right track, but I didn't expect that it would end in tragedy. We didn't get along well after marriage, so we didn't spend much time together, so I left China and went to the United States. I've been living separately for several years in the United States, and now I've come back to China to divorce and return to the original state of our lives. Thank you for your concern. I'm fine now, and I'm sorry to have given you a wrong example, but some people's marriages are beautiful, so don't be afraid of them. Thank you, everyone. Hearing that, the reporters were unwilling to let go of such a simple reason. They set up a Q&A session later, and the reporters kept asking spicy questions. Is there no third party involved? How can you not be happy after marriage? Do you have a new relationship now? How is the property divided? After all, Mu Firen had been through a lot, so she was very calm and ignored the spicy questions that she didn't want to answer. Then a reporter asked, "How did you meet Lin Che? Are you good friends now?" Mu Firen immediately smiled and said, "Yes, Lin Che and I are neighbors in the United States. All these years, his friendship has been with me." This made people even more interested. A pair of celebrities who didn't seem to have anything to do with each other suddenly became good friends. Chapter 961. How do you two get along with each other? How do you get along with each other normally? At this moment, everyone focused on the two of them. Mu Firen looked at Lin Che with a smile. Lin Che and I moved in together because we found out that we were both in America. We are very happy together. We take care of each other and live together. It can be said that she is the closest person to me now. When everyone heard this, they felt that it was a story worth digging out. However, it was the press conference today, so they didn't think that they would talk too much. The staff of Lin Che's company immediately said that there would be an exclusive interview in the future, that the press conference would be over soon. After that, the questions were all lukewarm. Although Mu Firen hadn't been back for a long time, she still knew how to deal with the reporters. After the press conference, the topic of Mu Firen's return was released one after another. Mu Firen only said that she was divorced and didn't mention anything else. Since there was nothing to talk about, people gradually stopped talking about divorce. After all, divorce seemed to be a common thing nowadays. Mu Firen didn't mention anything else. Because of her reappearance, the fans began to call for Mu Firen's return, so that the topic of her miscarriage was overshadowed. Because of Mu Firen's return, Lin Che was once again pushed onto the hot topic list. Everyone hoped that they could give an exclusive interview about their friendship, their relationship, and some things that happened in the past. However, Lin Che naturally wouldn't use Mu Firen's matter to create a hot topic, so the company had been dealing with it and didn't agree to any interview. However, at this moment, Nan Gongyu suddenly called Lin Che and told her that their movie, which had been named Joy, had just been applied for the Golden Name Awards, and she was very likely to be nominated for the Golden Name Award for Best Actress. This would be the second time that Lin Che had been nominated. Last time, Mu Firen had won the Best Actress Award, and she had only been there to accompany her. This time, Mu Firen wasn't there, but the nominees were all famous actors and A-list stars. They had brought their most influential films of the year, so it seemed that the competition would be very fierce. Lin Che didn't want to get her hopes up too early, in case she returned disappointed again, so she was indifferent on the phone. Nan Gongyu, on the other hand, was very depressed as he said, Lin Shay, it's you who's going to compete for the Best Actress award. Why haven't you done anything yet? Lin Shay said, what do you want me to do? I'll treat everyone to a meal after I really win the award. If I don't win the award, I'd better not get too carried away. Hey, it's already very rare to be nominated, okay? Nan Gongyu said. Lin Shay sighed. You're right, I know that too. Thank you, Nan Gong, for helping me fight for the nomination. But I was so pitiful the last time around. I'm worried that I'll be the same this time. Believe in yourself. Our movie is capable. You'll know when it's released after the new year. As soon as I finished editing it, I immediately signed you up. I really think our film is amazing. It's definitely the best film of the year. Nan Gong. What? Why do I feel like you're becoming more and more narcissistic? Nan Gongyu angrily hung up the phone. Lin Shay smiled and hung up the phone. She felt that she might have been affected by her pregnancy. Her emotions were more or less unstable, which made Nan Gong so depressed. Just then, she saw Gu Jingze walk in with a glass of milk. He looked at Lin Shay and said, what's wrong? Lin Shay looked up. I heard that I was nominated for a Golden Name Award. Really? Congratulations. Gu Jingze smiled and said, when is the award ceremony? Probably after the new year, around March or April. Oh, that's good. Your belly isn't big yet. Gu Jingze sat down and gently touched her belly. Lin Shay's appetite had been poor these few days, and she was a little depressed. Gu Jingze was very anxious as well. He wished that he could put all the delicious food in the world in front of her and coax her into eating it. Lin Shay said, what if I don't win again? Won't I be laughed at to death? What's there to laugh at? It's just that. Didn't you see Xiao Li being laughed at for the past few years? But isn't he still at the top? He gets nominated every year. Are the people who laugh at him better than him? Gu Jingze hugged her and said, the fact that you were nominated means that you already have the ability to be noticed. In comparison, the people who laugh at you can't be nominated can only laugh at you, right? Okay, think about it. Are you happy to be nominated or not to be nominated? Then, of course I'm nominated. Lin Shay thought about it. If Nan Gongyu told her that he had signed up but didn't get nominated, she would probably be even angrier. Gu Jingze said, so what are you worried about? Now is the time to celebrate. You can be disappointed when you really don't win the award. Isn't it too early to be disappointed now? What Gu Jingze said made sense. Lin Shay hugged him and looked at Gu Jingze's face. She rubbed her face against this. What would she do without him? But luckily, he was always by her side. She then remembered that she had been too lazy to wash her face in the morning. She looked at him. Oh no, you didn't wash your face. Gu Jingze could already feel it. His face was oily from sleeping for the whole night. He looked at her. You still have the nerve to say that. I rubbed my face. What should I do? Gu Jingze sighed and looked at her. What else can I do? I'll use it as a skincare product. Lin Shay was speechless. You have such a heavy taste. Gu Jingze smiled and pressed against her. I've tried all the liquids on your body. Don't worry, I don't mind. Body. Liquids. Lin Shay felt even more helpless. She hit him with a red face. You're so annoying. Gu Jingze laughed. Lin Shay pouted. Why? You really don't mind? Gu Jingze said seriously. Silly, why would I mind? What's yours is mine. I won't mind anything that's mine, he said as he touched her cheek. Lin Shay's heart warmed at first, but then she frowned and said, okay, you said I'm a thing. Gu Jingze wondered what was in this woman's head. Why is your attention so skewed? Humph, you're saying I'm a thing. Then you're saying you're not a thing? Gu Jingze raised his eyebrows and asked, you're so annoying. You're bullying me. Lin Shay punched him with her little fist. Gu Jingze smiled and took it. He rubbed her body and said, my greatest joy is bullying you. I'll bully your whole body. Lin Shay felt that he had been really flirtatious these few days. Lin Shay wondered if it was because she was pregnant and couldn't do anything, that he was holding back. Chapter 962. Lin Shay looked at him. Gu Jingze, tell me, you're pregnant now and you can't do anything. Do you feel uncomfortable? She looked down at the part of him that had a slight bulge in it. she felt that Gu Jing's needs were bigger than most men's. Other men, after being married for a few years, should gradually stop thinking about it. But he was still so powerful. He could always make her unable to get out of bed, and he still wanted more. Usually, he would complain for a few days when his period came, but now, he couldn't move for a few months. Gu Jing's face darkened as expected. He looked at her bitterly. "Treat me better if you know. Don't look around, or else I might not be able to control myself." He tapped the tip of her nose. His gaze was so presumptuous that he was almost aroused. Lin Che said, "Nonsense, I'm just taking a look. What else can you feel?" "Yeah, you don't know. Hungry wolves want to eat food when they hear the name of their food. As for me, I'm like a hungry wolf now, and I can only look but not eat. So I can't control myself when I look at you, let alone look at you. Get lost." Lin Che's face heated up. "What nonsense are you thinking in your head? I'm thinking about you every day. I can't control myself." He smiled and said, "Have you forgotten that you drugged me?" She had only drugged him once, all right, Lin Che said. "The drug took so long?" "Yeah, I'm curious too. You must have used a special drug." Lin Che laughed. Seeing her laugh, he pulled her up. "Let's go wash up and eat." Gu Jingzi didn't look well these days because she wasn't feeling well. Outside, the servants were more diligent than the previous one. They hurriedly brought food to them, hoping that Madame could eat more today so that Sir's complexion would be better. After she sat down, Gu Jingzi said, "Take a look. What do you want to eat?" Lin Che felt his stomach ache. He looked at the food and couldn't eat anymore. Gu Jingzi said, "Why? Don't you want to eat anything?" Lin Che said, "This is a pregnancy reaction. Don't worry. It'll be fine once it's over." However, Gu Jing's expression changed immediately. Lin Che said, "I'll just eat casually. I can't eat too much. I'm worried that I'll vomit if I eat too much." Gu Jingzi hurriedly said, "Okay, I'll feed you." Gu Jingzi picked up the bowl of porridge on the table, put it to his lips, and blew on it before carefully passing it to her. Lin Che obediently opened his mouth and ate it. Gu Jingzi looked at it and smiled with satisfaction. He made another bite for her. He fed it mouthful by mouthful, as if he was feeding a child. The servants at the side were impressed. Gu Jingzi was an impatient man, but he was very patient in front of his wife. Seeing Lin Che eat a big bowl, as well as some pickled vegetables, eggs, and vegetables, he became much happier, and the smile on his face became much warmer. At this moment, a helper came in. She looked at the two of them and said softly, "Sir, someone is visiting." "Someone came to visit?" Gu Jingzi turned around. "Who is it?" "Mr. Yun and Lady Yun Luo." Lin Che looked up. "Why were the two of them here?" Gu Jingzi said, "I won't see them." As if he didn't hear them, Gu Jingzi picked up the wet towel on the table and carefully wiped Lin Che's mouth. "Sir, Mr. Yun said he's here to apologize and hopes to see you and Madam. Are you really not going to see him?" "No." Lin Che heard this and said from behind, "Gu Jingzi, are you really not going to see him?" "You'll be upset if you see them," Gu Jingzi said. Lin Che shook her head. "No, I'm not upset. Go ahead and see why they're here. If we let them go, they'll have something to say when they go out. They might say bad things about us." Gu Jingzi looked at her deeply and finally nodded. "Okay, let's go and see how they'll apologize." Outside, Yin Kuishan and Yun Luo stood there waiting. Seeing that the helper didn't even look at them, Yin Kuishan felt embarrassed. Yin Luo had been dragged here. She didn't want to come at all, but she had no choice. Yin Kuishan had been nagging her the whole way, saying that it was all her fault for not paying attention and bumping into Lin Che. In the end, Lin Che got pregnant and angered Gu Jingzi. Now they were all going to be chased out of Country C. When that happened, the Yin family situation would be even worse. How could Yin Luo have known that Lin Che was pregnant? Didn't Lin Che already have a child? How could she get pregnant so soon? She had worked really hard to gain a foothold in the Gu family. Moreover, her stomach was so strong. Yin Luo was jealous too. She didn't have such a good body or such good luck. But now, the Gu family's helpers seemed to look down on them, looking so high and mighty. Just then, Gu Jingzi came out. Lin Che was beside him. She didn't look like a pregnant woman. She didn't look any different from usual. No, there were some differences. Her face looked a lot more rosy, and she looked a little rounder. She looked like she was exuding vitality. Yun Luo felt strange. Weren't pregnant women all ugly? How could she still maintain her beauty when she was pregnant? However, many female celebrities seem to be like this. Anyway, they were tough on themselves. They didn't forget to diet and exercise during pregnancy. They didn't care about the health of the child in their womb. They just had to maintain their beauty. Yin Luo looked at Lin Che with jealousy. She was carefully protected by Gu Jingze and looked even more doted on than before. When Yin Kuoshan saw that the two of them had come, he hurriedly said, "Jingze, I brought Yin Luo here to apologize. We really didn't know that we bumped into someone. We know that we were in the wrong. We were angry at you because of what happened in Country M. But now, we really know that we were wrong. Come, Yin Luo, come and apologize." Gu Jingze was so ruthless towards the Yun family that Yin Kuoshan was shocked. Gu Jingze wasn't inferior to his grandfather at all. At that time, someone had said that after Gu Jingze came up, the Gu family would be in chaos for a while. Gu Jingze's foundation wasn't stable, and the Gu family wouldn't be rich for more than 3 generations. However, Gu Jingze came up. Not only was his means not inferior to Gu Xianda's, he was even more ruthless. He made all the plans quickly and got rid of those who weren't willing to follow him. He supported He Ying, who was willing to stand with him. His swift and decisive actions showed that he was indeed someone who could do great things. Yin Kuoshan only felt more and more melancholic. It was a pity that such a person couldn't become the son-in-law of the Yun family. Chapter 963. Gu Jingze raised his hand to stop him. "All right, Mr. Yun, I've already told you everything I need to say. Leave Country C or die. It's your choice." Yin Kuoshan looked at Gu Jingze's determined expression and found it hard to accept. "Why are you doing this? Jingze, we used to be friends. Look, you've ruined our friendship. Yin Kuoshan, I don't need to say how many times your family has almost harmed us. But this last time you almost killed my child. This is something I can't tolerate." Yin Kuoshan felt extremely uneasy. He looked at him and said, "Really, we didn't do it on purpose. Yin Luo, what are you looking at? Hurry up and apologize to them." Yin Luo quickly lowered his head and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Lin Che. I didn't do it on purpose. I really didn't do it on purpose." Lin Che looked at Yin Luo. "I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. I'm sorry. There are some things that are useless to say." She knew whether she did it on purpose or not. Moreover, even if she said sorry, it was up to her whether to forgive them or not. She couldn't forgive them just because they said sorry. Yin Kuoshan said hurriedly, "Jingze, give us another chance. We won't make such a mistake again." "Really?" Gu Jingze looked at him. "Didn't you hear what my wife said? We're not going to forgive them. All right, send them off." He waved his hand lightly and said directly. Yin Kuoshan panicked. He wanted to rush forward, but he was blocked by the bodyguard the moment he took a step. Yin Kuoshan said, "Gu Jingze, what are you doing? I admit that we were eager for quick success and did something wrong, but you can't be so ruthless. What do you look like to outsiders? You just become the master of the Gu family. Are you going to use the 'those who follow me will prosper' or 'those who oppose me will perish' line?" Gu Jingze's indifferent and cold look made people feel even more guilty. Because of this, they couldn't tell what Gu Jingze was really thinking. Was he trying to save face, or was he really going to kill them all? Gu Jingze said, "Those who follow me will prosper, or those who oppose me will perish. But there's one thing you have to know. I won't offend those who don't offend me, but if they offend me, I'll kill them." Killing intent flashed in Gu Jingze's eyes. Yin Kuoshan's heart shook, and he felt dejected. But he didn't believe it. He didn't believe that Gu Jingze dared to do it. The Yin family had been around for hundreds of years. How could they disappear all of a sudden just because of Gu Jingze? He looked at Gu Jingze with gloomy eyes. If you really dare to be so ruthless towards the Yun family, do you believe that the Yun family is not so easy to bully? Even if we have to fight to the death, we will not let you have it easy." Gu Jingze's eyes were still calm. He just looked at Yin Kuoshan and said coldly, "A life and death struggle? Do you think that the current Yin family still has the qualifications to talk about a life and death struggle with me? You. Yin Kushan looked at the bodyguard next to him and then at Gu Jingze, who looked determined behind him. He finally gave up on begging for mercy and turned around to walk out. As he walked, he snorted coldly. I don't believe that you, Gu Jingze, dare. Umph. Even a rabbit will bite when it's cornered. When the time comes, the Yin family will unite with many merchants and protest against your hegemony. Then, even if the Yin family loses in the end, the Gu family will still skin us alive. Yin Kushan walked out as he walked. In his heart, he really felt that Gu Jingze was not enough. Yin Luo said worriedly, Dad, what should we do now? Yin Kushan gritted his teeth. I don't believe that Gu Jingze can turn the world upside down. He can't be so daring to kill the Yin family. He doesn't have the confidence either. If we fall out with him now, he will regret it sooner or later. Yin Luo still felt that it was not a good idea. But from what I saw just now, it doesn't seem like he doesn't have the confidence. He's still young and impetuous. If it was Gu Xinde, the Gu family wouldn't be so arrogant. Does he really think that his position is secure? That's why he's so lawless. Even if Yin Kushan wasn't confident, he still felt that Gu Jingze wouldn't dare. With that thought, he left the place with Yin Luo. Inside, Lin Che watched the Yin family father and daughter leave and said to Gu Jingze, Is it really okay to fall out with the Yin family like this? Gu Jingze said, Of course I have the confidence. That's why I said that. He thought that I would be overcautious. Unfortunately, I'm not grandfather. I'm not as indecisive as him. My style of doing things is different from grandfather's. I think he needs to familiarize himself with my style of doing things before he has the right to confront me here. All right, don't worry about them. Lin Che nodded. He felt that Gu Jingze did have his own way of doing things, and he rarely failed. In comparison, Lin Che naturally didn't understand these things. Gu Jingze said, Rest well these few days. We'll be busy for a few days during the new year. Gu Jingze had a lot of social engagements this year because he had just become the head of the family. However, because Lin Che was suddenly pregnant, he canceled these engagements. He didn't want to let Lin Che stay at home alone. Because of this, many people came knocking on the door to visit as the new year approached. Everyone didn't understand the new head of the family's temper. They wanted to take advantage of the New Year's invitation to go out and familiarize themselves with him, but they didn't expect Gu Jingze to cancel most of the engagements. Being so low-key made people feel even more uneasy. These few days, Lin Che saw that there were countless gifts piling up every day. She thought it was strange. In the past, Gu Jingze didn't seem to have so many social engagements. She didn't know what was wrong with him these 2 days. So many people came to send gifts. Lin Che went over to open the gifts. Each one was blinding. She flipped through the gifts and said in surprise, Damn, what are these? The servant smiled and said, Someone knows that we have a pet dog, so they made a custom-made dog leash for it. It can't be. Custom-made. Isn't this too extravagant? There were gems and diamonds on the leash. They would probably be robbed if they went out. The servant thought, of course, a mongrel dog carrying this out would really blind everyone's eyes. However, this dog was Gu Jingze's dog. The servant said, Sir is the head of the Gu family now, so his status is different from before. That's why there are so many gifts. Lin Che finally understood that being the head of the Gu family had such a big difference. She shrugged and said, Gu Jingze doesn't do anything, but the gifts he receives are enough for us to spend for a few lifetimes. The servant laughed. Madam, even if you don't accept gifts now, the Gu family's money is enough for you to spend for many years. That was true. Just then, Gu Jingze returned from outside. Chapter 964. He was here to take Lin Che to the Gu residence. It was the new year, so the family had to go back for a gathering. Nian Yin had already gone to the Gu residence, so Lin Che and Gu Jingze arrived a little later. Because Gu Jingze was worried about Lin Che's health, he didn't want her to go there too early and be disturbed by so many people. Lin Che felt that he was a little too nervous, but she really didn't want to go to the Gu residence and be surrounded by so many people. When they arrived at the Gu residence, many people from the Gu family were already there. Seeing that Gu Jingza hadn't arrived yet, the people inside were still muttering to themselves that he was really powerful now, and it was even more difficult to see him. Someone told them that it was because Gu Jingza's wife was pregnant, and he didn't want her to be too tired, so he came a little late. Everyone was even more convinced that this madam was the one who was more arrogant. However, when Lin Che really arrived, no one dared to be the slightest bit displeased. The moment Lin Che entered the door, he felt that everyone was looking at him differently. In the past, they were somewhat unwilling, but now they were very enthusiastic and greeted Lin Che, looking very respectful. Lin Che could only respond to them one by one, feeling that she was even more tired from everyone's enthusiasm. Lin Che could only look at Gu Jingza and ask, "What's going on?" Gu Jingza said, "Why? You're my wife, so it's normal for them to be respectful to you." Okay, I don't think they were so enthusiastic before. Lin Che touched her stomach, feeling that it had something to do with it. Actually, it was true. Everyone knew that Lin Che was pregnant again. This time, whether it was a boy or a girl, it was Gu Jingza's second child. Lin Che's position was stable. Gu Jingza had always doted on her. Previously, there had been servants who resisted, but they were sent away. Now that she was pregnant, no one could resist. Mu Wanqing and her family were still there. Looking at Lin Che, Mu Wanqing quickly walked over and said, "Ayo, poor thing. I heard about your mother and father. I really didn't expect our little Che to have such a rough life. It's really heartbreaking." Lin Che pursed his lips and smiled. He felt that after so many days, he had already accepted this matter. Mu Wanqing said, "However, I didn't expect you to be a child of the Liu family. This is a good thing for you. In the future, even if you start to be the mistress, no one will dare to look down on you if they know that you are a child of the Liu family." Lin Che said, "I haven't thought about that. Mom, you're so capable, you can actually continue doing this." Mu Wanqing smiled and looked behind her. "Silly child, Mom has been doing this for so many years and is already tired. In addition, she just came back, so I can go out with him and do a lot of things. The heavy burden of the family should be handed over to you." Mu Wanqing said, "All right, when I heard that I was going to step down, I was so happy. Why do you look like you were forced to eat something disgusting? Your face is so ugly." Lin Che said, I just think that I might not know how to do it yet. But if you really leave it to me, Mom, I will try my best to do it." Mu Wanqing looked at this silly girl and shook her head. What a silly girl. Mistress is the most respected woman in this family. Everyone else is fighting for her, but you don't want her. Lin Che sighed, "I know I don't have this diamond drill, but since I'm married Gu Jingza, I will still work hard to learn what I need to learn." Mu Wanqing said, "Jingza has also found a good child. You don't covet these things, and you don't care about power at all. That's why Jingza dotes on you so much. What they don't understand is naturally not why Jingza has such a soft spot for you. It's because you are such a rare good child in this world that Jingza loves you so much. Mom, your praise is making my face turn red." On Gu Xinda's side, he also symbolically sent over a gift. Gu Xinda didn't come in and was only chatting with some of the clan members in the study. When Gu Jingza returned, he naturally went to the study to visit Gu Xinda. When he entered the study, he saw that many of the clan members were there. He smiled and said, "Grandfather's place is really lively today. Jingza is here to pay his respects to all the clan members." Everyone looked at Gu Jingza and could only chuckle. Gu Xinda snorted and said, "You've been really high profile recently. However, I have to remind you, Jingza, the river flows east for 30 years and then west for 30 years. You still have to leave a way out for yourself." Gu Jingza said, "Thank you for the reminder, grandfather. I'll remember it." He looked at Gu Xinda. "It's just that grandfather and I both want the Gu family to be better and better. We just do things differently." Gu Xinda didn't say anything. He looked at him and narrowed his dangerous eyes, but didn't say anything. When Gu Jingza wasn't around, the clan members present still dared to say a few words, but now they didn't dare to say anything. Originally, They thought that if Gu Jingze continued to cause trouble, something would happen sooner or later. However, they didn't expect that Gu Jingze would swiftly and decisively rectify the situation between these wealthy families. In an instant, his reputation and prestige had been established. Gu Xinda only snorted, "All right, I want to see how far you can take the Gu family." Gu Xinda saw that the clan members were becoming more and more respectful toward him. In his heart, he also understood that he had lost his power. Even though he was a little unwilling, he couldn't change Gu Jingze's position in the Gu family and continue to develop steadily. The clan members who were originally a little worried about him were slowly convinced after seeing how Gu Jingze dealt with his opponents with an iron fist. Although they would still come here to complain to him tearfully, it was getting less and less intense. Gu Xinda said, "All right, everyone go out. There are still many relatives and friends waiting outside." Gu Xinda sat in his wheelchair and went out, surrounded by everyone. Outside, Lin Shay was sitting together with Mu Wanqing. When her eyes met Gu Xinda's, she stood up and went over to greet him. Although the clan members were convinced by Gu Jingze, the more powerful Gu Jingze was, the more they felt that the wife he married wasn't worthy of him. When they looked at Lin Shay, their expressions were a little unwilling, and there was even a hint of disdain in their eyes. Lin Shay greeted Gu Xinda and said, "Hello, Grandpa." Gu Xinda grunted in response. Everyone was still staring at her when a servant came in and said, "The Liu family is here to greet you, old master." Although the New Year's was a gathering for the Gu family, the Liu family was related to the Gu family by marriage, so it wasn't wrong for them to come. Gu Xinda paused for a moment, then raised his hand and asked the servant to invite them in. The person who came in was Liu Qinyu and Liu Beichen's family of 3. It was quite a full family. Everyone was still very wary of the Liu family. Even the Gu family members knew that the Liu family's influence couldn't be underestimated. Gu Jingze could be said to be a little more powerful than them, but as clan members, they couldn't compare to the Liu family's influence at all. Hence, everyone hurriedly came down to greet Liu Qinyu respectfully. However, when Liu Qinyu saw Lin Che, he immediately ran over. "Little Che, you're here." Chapter 965. When Liu Qinyu saw Lin Che, he walked over with a smile. Lin Che quickly said, "Oh, Uncle Liu, hello." Liu Qinyu was a little disappointed when he heard her address him as Uncle Liu, but then he continued to walk over with a smile. "I just heard that you're pregnant. Dad, I'm really happy, so I came over to see you." Liu Beichun also smiled. "Yeah, my dad has already installed a children's room at home. He said that you should bring your child over to live there when you have the chance." Lin Che said no. There's no need to go through so much trouble. It's no trouble at all. There will be a chance. Why are you standing here? It's not good." He raised his head and frowned at Gu Jingze. "Little Che's body needs a good rest now. How can you let him stand like this?" Gu Jingze hurried over, but Liu Qinyu had already seen a seat for the clan members. He walked over and said, The other person understood Liu Qinyu's intention at once. He didn't dare to argue with Liu Qinyu, so he quickly stood up and said, "Oh, sit here, sit here." Thus, in front of a group of senior people, Liu Qinyu immediately pressed Lin Che, a junior, onto a seat. The clan members looked awkward, but didn't say anything. Seeing Liu Qinyu standing at the side and asking about Lin Che's well-being, they couldn't say anything else. They could only stand up. Liu Qinyu looked at Gu Xinda. "Old Master Gu, my daughter is now in your hands. Although I didn't take care of Lin Che before and let your family take advantage of her, don't you dare bully Lin Che in the future. Otherwise, I'll be the first to punish you." Although there were differences between the two families, they were, after all, solicitous. So, he had heard about the movements of the relatives here. He knew that they had expressed their dissatisfaction with Lin Che and wanted Gu Jingze to marry someone else. Today, he deliberately chose this day to visit Lin Che to let everyone know that Lin Che wasn't without a backer. They shouldn't think that Lin Che was a pushover. The clan members rubbed their noses and scratched their ears awkwardly. Gu Xinda squinted at Lu Qinyu. Don't worry. Lin Che is living well in our family. I hope so, Lu Qinyu said. What else could the clan members say? They could only nod in agreement. There was nothing special about the New Year's party. Lin Che sat there for a while. Gu Jingze was worried that she was tired, so he said to the others, "Let's go to the back and have a rest." Seeing Gu Jingze leading Lin Che away, and even leaving the hall before Gu Xinda, everyone couldn't help but sigh. In Gu Jingze's heart, Lin Che was still the number one. Someone smiled and said to Lu Qinyu, "Look at how Jingze treats Lin Che. You don't have to worry at all. Do you think Lin Che will be bullied here? Look at how Jingze treats Lin Che like he's afraid he'll fall, and how he's afraid he'll melt in his mouth." Lu Qinyu laughed. Isn't little Che worth it? Such a good girl was given to him just like that. Seeing that his words were also full of support, everyone hurriedly echoed his sentiments. Someone also said, "Old man Lu is so good. On one hand, he married the young lady of the Gu family, and on the other hand, he married his own daughter into the Gu family. This time, our two families are in-laws. We can't even separate even if we wanted to." The Lu family was lucky. Many people were already jealous when they married the young lady of the Gu family. Now, the future mistress of the Gu family was actually a member of the Lu family. Even if they said that they did it on purpose, some people would still believe it. Otherwise, how could there be such a fate? Lu Qinyu sighed. This is also fate. Originally, I would never have known that little Che was my daughter in this lifetime. Perhaps she met Jingze because the heavens still wanted to send her to my side. Since the heavens have arranged this, I must do my best to fulfill my responsibilities as a father. From now on, little Che's happiness will be my first concern. That was indeed what he thought. In front of everyone, he didn't need to hide anything. Especially when he looked at Gu Xinda, he spoke in a loud and clear voice. He wanted Gu Xinda to hear him clearly. Gu Xinda looked at him and sipped his tea. It was time to leave. He always left early every year, and everyone was used to it. At the end, a relative came over and said, "What does old man Lu mean by this? Is he here to support Lin Che, or is he here to threaten the Gu family?" Gu Xinda didn't bat an eyelid. He said mildly, "It's not easy to be the mistress. Let's talk about it when Lin Che really becomes the mistress with his own abilities." When the relative heard this, he felt that he was right. Looking at her now, she didn't look like she could be the mistress of the family at all. When the time came, it was uncertain whether she would really be the mistress or just a puppet. Lin Che and Gu Jingze went to the back for a walk. Lin Che was a little full from eating, and her stomach was bulging. She touched her belly and said, "Ah, my stomach is so big." Gu Jingze lowered his head and said, "How is it big?" Lin Che said, "It'll get bigger and bigger in the future. It'll be so big that it'll scare people. Say, when you see it, will you not like me anymore?" Lin Che had been with him for a long time, and she had become more courageous. She didn't feel afraid or cautious in front of him at all. She could even act coquettishly when she opened her mouth. There was a hint of questioning in her words. She pouted and looked at Gu Jingze. Her charming face was obviously resentful. Gu Jingze said, "Why wouldn't I like you? You're so bloated and ugly." Sometimes, Lin Che felt lucky when she thought about it. When she was pregnant with Nian Yan, she was at her ugliest. Her face was full of pimples, and she looked very haggard. But Gu Jingze didn't see her ugliest appearance. Although she trusted Gu Jingze 100% and understood his character, no woman wanted to be ugly in a man's eyes. She felt a little unhappy just thinking about it. Gu Jingze stopped holding her hand and looked at her. "Seeing you become ugly because you gave birth to my child, shouldn't my heart ache more for you? Why wouldn't I like you? But I still don't look good. That won't happen. You'll look good no matter what. That'll still be ugly. Then, when that time comes, I won't bathe and I'll be ugly with you every day, okay?" Lin Che said, "Won't you stink to death? Then we'll both be ugly. Won't we dislike each other? Then people will be scared to death when they see you, right? I just need to show you." He smiled and pulled her into his arms. The night scene was very beautiful. Looking at it from afar as he held her in his arms, It was a beautiful painting. It wasn't just because the two people in the painting were so beautiful, but also because of the warmth that the two of them had. It was as if the coldness of the night had been infected. Chapter 966. Of course, Lin Che wouldn't let him not shower or wash his hair. She snuggled into his arms and said, "But I'll faint from the smell, too." He poked her nose. "Silly." Lin Che smiled. He felt that it was very comfortable to stay in his arms. When the two of them entered, they saw Nian Nian sitting there watching TV in boredom. "Nian Nian." Lin Che sat down. "What are you doing? Can't you see?" Nian Nian said. Lin Che felt that Nian Nian didn't like to talk to him recently. She looked at Nian Nian. "I can see, but I still want Nian Nian to tell me himself." "You can see, but you still need me to tell you." "What's wrong? Isn't this how moms talk to babies?" "All right, Mommy, I'm not a 3-year-old. When a boy grows up, he won't be very close to his mother. Why don't you get used to it now?" With that, Nian Nian jumped off the sofa and walked out. Lin Che was stunned. She saw Gu Jingze watching from the side with narrowed eyes. She walked over and said, "Gu Jingze, don't you think Nian Nian is a little strange?" Gu Jingze said, "What do you think?" Lin Che said, "It's strange. Nian Nian was very independent in the past, but he wouldn't ignore me like this. Is it because I have a baby?" She lowered her head and touched her belly. She wanted to say that when some people had a second child, the baby would be a little resistant. But she knew that Nian Nian wouldn't be that kind of child. Nian Nian was much more mature than other children, so he wouldn't have such thoughts. But looking at Nian Nian's changes now, she wondered if Nian Nian actually cared about it. After all, no matter how mature he was, Nian Nian was still a child. Gu Jingze walked to Lin Che's side. "Nian Nian is a reasonable child. He wouldn't do this. But I'll find a chance to ask him what's going on." "All right." Lin Che was filled with worry. She returned to the Gu mansion with Gu Jingze. Gu Shinian went back to his room with them. He said good night to his parents and returned to his own room. He was deliberately being angry with Lin Che because he had already found out that Yun Yun was really Mo Jinyan's child, but he didn't know if he should tell her. His parents had known about it for a long time, but they had kept it from Annie Mu Firen and so on. Yun Yun had always envied Gu Shinian for having her own father. She also wanted to have a father, but her father was right in front of her, but she couldn't recognize him. Gu Shinian was angry, thinking that they were already adults. How could they be so cruel to Yun Yun? Gu Shinian was determined. Since they didn't want to do it, he had to do something for Yun Yun to reunite with Mo Jinyan. Furthermore, he had to let his parents know that he was truly angry because they didn't care about a child's feelings and hid the truth. The atmosphere of the new year was very strong in big families. After all, there were a lot of people. Everyone decorated their houses together and hung up new clothes for the new year. Because Lin Che was pregnant this year, the family was especially festive. These were all done by the officials. Because Lin Che wasn't feeling well, he didn't care about anything. He rested in his room and didn't go out much. It was almost New Year's Eve, and everyone was going to the Gu family to celebrate the New Year's Eve. Lin Che hurriedly put on his clothes and went out to look for Nian Nian. She quickly pulled a servant over and asked, "Have you seen Nian Nian?" The servant said, "Young master, I haven't seen him in a while. Isn't he in his room?" Lin Che said, "He's not in his room." After asking this question, everyone realized that no one had seen Nian Nian for a long time. After a while, everyone started to look for him. However, after searching the entire house, they still couldn't find Nian Nian. Everyone couldn't help but panic. Because Lin Che remembered that Nian Nian's mood wasn't right, she became even more anxious. She immediately called Gu Jingze and asked the bodyguards to start looking. Because there was a surveillance camera at the door, she had someone look at the surveillance footage and realized that Nian Nian hadn't left any of the rooms. Because of privacy reasons, there weren't many surveillance cameras inside. There weren't any surveillance cameras at all, so there was no way to know where Nian Nian had left from. Lin Che looked at the surveillance footage over and over again and found it even more strange. Where did Nian Nian leave from? Not long after, Gu Jingze finally rushed back. He threw down his clothes as he entered and asked, "How is it?" Lin Che shook her head, looking anxious. "I haven't found him yet." Gu Jingze patted her back. "Don't worry, I'll get someone to look for him right away." Lin Che couldn't feel at ease. She nodded vigorously and told herself that no one would rush in to take Nian Yin away. The Gu family security was the best in the entire country. Nian Yin must have run out on his own. Nian Yin would sometimes do the same thing overseas. However, it seemed safer overseas than in China. After all, there weren't as many bad people watching them. However, in B City, there were many people watching the Gu family's door. There was danger everywhere, so it made people feel more worried. Moreover, it was New Year's Eve today. What was Nian Yin doing? On the street, Gu Shinian looked up at the huge clubhouse. From the outside, he could tell how luxurious it was inside. And the people coming in and out were definitely not ordinary people. This was Mo Jinyan's clubhouse. It was said that because Mo Jinyan didn't have a family, he spent New Year's here. Gu Shinian walked across the street and into the clubhouse. It was still open for business today. There were some young people who didn't feel much about New Year's, but rich families were very particular about etiquette. Most of them celebrated the New Year at home. The doorman saw the kid at the door. He smoked and looked at the kid. "Hey, which kid ran out at night? Where are the adults?" Gu Shinian looked at the person in front of him. "I want to see Hei Ying." The doorman was stunned. Hei Ying was their boss. Of course he knew his name. But where did this kid come from? He dared to come up and say that he wanted to see Hei Ying. Hei Ying was their boss's name. How could an ordinary person call him that directly? He even came to the clubhouse and said it directly. "Hey kid, who are you? Since you're young, I'll pretend I didn't hear you. Hurry up and leave. Otherwise, your parents will be implicated by you." Gu Shinian looked up coldly. "I said that I want to see Hei Ying." "Hey, you brat. I think you're asking for a beating." The doorman was even angrier. What kind of brat was this? How dare he look at him like that? He rolled his eyes and asked, "Kid, tell me, who told you our boss's name? Who told you that you can find our boss here?" Chapter 967. I don't need to talk nonsense with you. I know he's inside. Let me go in now. I don't have much time. If you waste any more time, I'll kill you too. Duh. The doorman at the door was depressed. What kind of kid was this? He was angry and didn't want to be polite with him just because he was a kid. He said with a straight face, "Little brat, hurry up and leave. If you don't leave, I'll get someone to spank you." Humph. Gu Shinian looked at him indifferently. He raised his head and walked in with his chest puffed out. "Hey, you're really daring." The doorman went up and said to the security guard behind him, "Throw this little brat out." When the security guards heard this, they rushed over. However, before they could touch the child, a tall man suddenly jumped out from behind and grabbed the security guard's hand. The security guard was still in a daze when he felt someone blocking in front of him. Only then did the few of them notice that a row of people had suddenly appeared behind them. Each of them was tall and strong, and they looked very strong. Standing behind this small child, it looked very strange. Which family's kid was so playful that he brought so many people with him that the security guard was so scared that he stood at the side and didn't dare to come over. The doorman was also dumbfounded. Looking at this little boy, he felt that he was not ordinary. This wasn't an expression that a child of a few years old would have, nor was it something that a child of a few years old would do. The doorman looked at the few men and said to them, "Huh, which family's young master is this? He's out of play." The doorman thought that maybe he was a kid from some family, so he was bold because there were people around him. However, he wasn't afraid. After all, their boss was the famous Black Eagle. Gu Shinian looked at him. "Can you bring me in to see Black Eagle now?" The doorman laughed out loud. "Hey, do you want to die? Why don't you take a look at where you are and behave atrociously here?" Gu Shinian looked at him. "Since I can find my way here, I naturally know where this is." When the doorman saw that he had finished speaking, he immediately waved his hand and got his men to rush in. He immediately shouted, "Get your weapons out and teach this little brat a lesson. How dare he barge in here?" As he shouted inside, he shouted at Gu Shinian and his men, "Little bastard, let's see if you dare to barge in." Seeing that he didn't seem to hear him and was still barging in, he hurriedly shouted at the bodyguards, "Hey, Stop right there. Your kid is still young. Don't you have any brains? If you dare to go in and offend our boss, don't even think about leaving here alive today. I'm telling you. He saw that those people were still like deaf people. They didn't listen to him at all. Fuck, do you know who our boss is? It's Blackhawk, Mr. Mo. He's someone who kills without blinking an eye. Be careful of your heads, I'm telling you. However, it was the first time for the doorman to see such bold people. Seeing the security guards coming out to beat them, they didn't flinch at all. They just protected the child in the middle and continued to beat them. What was even more terrifying was that these people looked so extraordinary. A few security guards who usually looked good were beaten down by these people effortlessly. He had never seen such a scene before, so he was stunned for a moment. The club's most powerful bodyguards had already been dispatched. If they were any more powerful, they would be the few who were by his boss's side. Naturally, they wouldn't make a move normally, so no one knew how powerful these experts were. Looking at these people today, he felt that these bodyguards were only at this level. They couldn't be any higher. Seeing these people beat up a group of bodyguards just like that, he was really stunned. Heavens, this. Wait for me, I'll immediately. What's so noisy? Inside, Blackhawk had already heard what was happening in front of him and walked out. Outside, it was already a mess. Seeing Blackhawk come out, the doorman hurriedly stumbled over. Boss, it's bad, boss, look. This person came here to provoke us and brought people to beat us up. This is... Blackhawk frowned as he looked at the scene in front of him and immediately saw the child standing in the middle. He took a closer look. This isn't Gushinian? The doorman was stunned. He really knew him? Blackhawk walked over and looked at Yin Yin, who was in the middle, and said, "Why are you here?" The people around him then realized that Blackhawk didn't look like a huge monster to this little boy at all. Instead, he looked much gentler. Everyone then realized that it seemed like he was really someone Blackhawk knew. Thinking about it this way, they understood. These people were so powerful because they were in the same class as their boss, so naturally they were also very powerful. Blackhawk looked at Gushinian strangely. Gushinian crossed his arms and looked at Blackhawk. He looked like a little adult. Blackhawk couldn't help but laugh. You really look like your dad, and your boldness too. Aren't you afraid of getting into trouble by barging in here alone? Hey, why are you here? Gushinian said, "You're my uncle, right?" Blackhawk was stunned. Indeed, this was Lin Shay and Gu Jing's child, which meant that he was his nephew. He nodded. That's right. Gushinian said, "Is it wrong to come and spend the new year with Uncle?" Blackhawk chuckled. "You're here to spend the new year with me? Do your parents know?" "I don't want them to know. That's why I'm here to spend the new year with you." Blackhawk raised his chin and looked down at him. "Huh, you're just like your dad. Just tell me what you want. And as your uncle, I'll give you whatever I can. You don't have to beat around the bush." Gushinian heard this and said, "All right, I want to spend the new year with you." Blackhawk was confused. "You want to spend the new year with me? Are you serious? That won't do. If you don't spend the new year with your parents, why are you spending the new year with me? If your parents find out, they'll definitely come looking for me. I'll send you back." Gushinian said, "No, you can't send me back. There's nothing impossible about it. Although you brought people to barge into this place and are very powerful, the people guarding outside are just good-for-nothings. If you think it's that easy to push down the people around me, then you're gravely mistaken." Gushinian still looked at him confidently. "Uncle, you'll agree to let me stay. Otherwise, if you don't take me in, I'll go to Annie Fearon's. I believe that Annie Fearon and Yin Yin will take me in too." Blackhawk's eyes flashed. He saw something different in Gushinian's pitch-black, bright eyes. His eyes flashed. "What do you know?" Chapter 968. Gushinian said, "Looks like it's true." Black Eagle's gaze shifted again. It turned out that he had been tricked by a child. He shook his head. He had no choice but to accept it. Black Eagle tilted his head and let him follow him in. Inside, he looked at Gushinian. "What's your motive?" Gushinian said, "Since you're Yun's father, why don't you acknowledge her?" Black Eagle paused and looked down at Gushinian. "Nien, you're still young. You don't understand." "Yes, I'm still young. I don't understand why adults are so complicated. I only know that it's the new year and Yun wants a father to celebrate the new year with her. But her father is right beside her. She doesn't know that she's going to celebrate the new year without a father again. She'll be sad for another day. Black Eagle couldn't help but feel sad when he heard this. But in the next moment, he looked at the child. "Ah, you little kid, how old are you? You're already so good at talking." To be able to pick on someone's most sensitive nerve and find their weakness so directly, this child would be amazing in the future. Gu Shinian said, "I'm just telling the truth." Black Eagle sighed. He thought about Mu Firen and Yun. He said, "All right, I'll stop talking. I'll go to Yun's place now and celebrate the new year with her. What do you think?" "Of course, but what's the point of going there if you don't tell her that you're her father?" "I really can't do that." Black Eagle said, "I have my own plan. If they find out now, I'm afraid. Your Auntie Firen won't let me get close to Yun anymore." "Why?" Gu Shinian asked curiously. Black Hawk shook his head and said, "Although you learn fast and well, your thinking is harmful to a child. Sometimes things can be so complicated that it's hard to imagine. All right, you stay here. Hey, I'm running away from home now. You can't tell my parents. Otherwise, I'll tell Yun right away." Black Eagle looked at this child and felt that he was really unlucky today to have met this little brat. He said, "How can you not implicate me when you run away from home?" Gu Shinian said, "It's because you're my uncle." Black Hawk couldn't do anything to him. He really couldn't hit him or scold him. He wasn't an ordinary child, so he could just throw him out. It wouldn't be good to offend such a clever little thing. Black Hawk thought that he had to think of a way to let people know that he was here. As long as Gu Jingzi knew, it would be easy. Before Black Hawk went out, he instructed the person at the door, "Take good care of him. If he loses even a single hair, it won't just be your own death. Your entire family will be implicated by you." Such a stern warning caused the people in front of him to shiver. They hurriedly nodded and said with all their might, "Boss, we will do our best to fulfill your orders." Just like that, the Black Hawk left the room. Later, Black Hawk specially mobilized his men to surround the club and close the door. No one was allowed to go in or out. The atmosphere was tense all of a sudden, making people wonder how dangerous the kid inside was to make the boss pay so much attention to him. However, he didn't know that Black Eagle was deliberately exaggerating so that people would notice this place faster. Over there. Indeed, Gu Jingzi had almost searched the entire B city. Lin Che was also anxious. Gu Jingzi naturally thought of asking Black Hawk for help. Every time something like this happened, Black Hawk was the best helper because there were always more connections in the underworld than in the legal world. However, this time, before he even went to look for him, he heard that Black Hawk had rushed out at night. What was even stranger was that his place was tightly sealed and no one was allowed to go in or out. It was said that it only started at night. When Gu Jingzi heard this, he stood there and fell into deep thought. Just then, Lin Che walked in. Seeing the silent Gu Jingzi, she quickly walked over and asked what happened. Gu Jingzi turned around and said, "There seems to be some progress on Yun's matter." "Really?" A smile flashed across Lin Che's face instantly. Gu Jingzi slowly told her about the Black Eagle. Lin Che was puzzled and asked, "Why must this be related to Yun? Black Hawk is famous for being arrogant. No one deserves such an exaggerated treatment from him. Moreover, the timing matches with Yun's disappearance. I'm afraid that Yun used something to threaten him not to say anything. He had no choice but to send us such a signal. That's so unreal." Lin Che, of course, hoped that it was true. Didn't that mean that Yun's whereabouts would be known from the bottom of her heart? Hence, no matter how unreal it was, she wanted to believe it. Gu Jingzi said, "I'll send someone to investigate. Yun is in B City, and there's no one else he can rely on. If he really left on his own, it's possible that he went to look for Black Hawk." Okay. Just then, someone came in from outside and said, "Sir, madam, there's a Mrs. Suitson visiting. She says she's Madam's mother." "Mother?" Lin Che quickly said, "I'll go out and take a look." Gu Jingzi saw this and hurriedly followed. She wasn't in good health now, and he couldn't let her face this alone. Outside, Suitsun stood there quietly and waited. After not seeing her for a few days, Suitsun looked much more haggard and haggard. Lin Che went out to see Su's mother. This was much simpler than calling Lu Qinyu daddy. After all, she had called him that for so many years. Suitsun walked over. When she heard her mother's voice, tears almost fell from her eyes. She pulled Lin Che and said, "Xiao Che, I'm here to see you. It's the new year today. I want to come and see you. You should have told me in advance so that I could have sent someone to pick you up," Lin Che said. Suitsun shook her head. "These few days, I've been thinking about the past. I went back to see the place we used to live, and I went back to school to see my past life. I still feel like I'm dreaming. But when I saw you, I woke up. I knew that everything was real. It's just that I've been asleep for too many years." Lin Che pursed his lips and lowered his head. He didn't know what to say. Suitsun said, "Xiao Che, Mother has been away from you for so many years. Fortunately, you're living well. Mother knows that you're a good child. Mother doesn't want to delay your life here. Mother has decided that Mother will go back to Country M." Lin Che looked up. "Mother," Suitsun said, "Mother is very relieved that you have Gu Jingze to protect you. Mother is also very relieved that you have Teacher Lu to look after you. But if I stay in Country C, I'll be homeless. You can stay with me," Lin Che said. Chapter 969. Suitsun said, "How can I do that, Xiao Che?" She gently caressed her face. "I'm already very happy that I can still see you. I'm also very happy to have such a good daughter like you. But I haven't fulfilled my duty as a mother. I haven't been able to take good care of you." Lin Che hurriedly shook his head. "Mom, you were hypnotized. It's not your fault. But I was clearly there, but I didn't take care of you. Xiao Che, Mom is really sorry." "There's nothing to be sorry about between mother and daughter," Lin Che said. "I just hope Mom can live a good life. Little Che, I'm very happy that you're able to grow up so well. Even without me, you've grown into a good girl. From now on, you have to live well. Mom will be there. You can come and find me at any time. I can also come and visit you. But Mom has already decided to go to Country M." Suitsun sighed and stroked her face tenderly. "In the blink of an eye, you've grown up so much, and you even have your own child." Lin Che was stunned. "Mom, you're going back to Country M? Why?" That Han Shinjin had hypnotized her for so long, but she still wanted to go back? Suitsun said, "Shinjin has protected me for so many years. I owe him. But I still have you. But he doesn't have a child in this life. He's alone for me. He's already a loner, without any relatives or friends. How can I let him die alone? What's more, little Che, after so many years, love has faded and feelings are gone. I've also seen many things clearly. In the past, my obsession was too deep. When I loved someone, I invested everything I had, causing me to be on the verge of despair in the end. So now, I no longer see these things as important. If there is, then there is. If there isn't, then so be it. So, for the rest of my life, I don't have any other thoughts. I only hope that you can live a good life, and I'll peacefully spend the rest of my days without fighting or snatching, without love or hate. Without fighting, without love or hate, that it sounded calm, but at the same time, it was sorrowful. But to Suitsun, perhaps this was already the best. Lin Che hugged Suitsun, "Mom, baby, you've grown up." Suitsun hugged him tightly. Suitsun left, and after walking out, she saw Han Qingen's car in the distance. She closed her eyes, and a smile appeared on her face. "Qingen, come here. Don't always follow me." Han Qingen got out of the car. After not seeing him for a few days, he seemed to have become a different person. His beard was unkempt, and he no longer looked like a rich man. He looked at Suitsun as if she was a lost child looking at his only hope. Suitsun smiled and looked at him. "I've been thinking a lot these few days." Han Qingen nodded. He knew that she had gone to many places in the past and seen many things. He did not dare to approach her, but he was worried about her, so he could only follow her from afar. Suitsun said, "I know that everything you did was for my own good, but I still can't forgive you for hypnotizing me and separating me from my daughter for so many years." Han Qingen's expression became even more sorrowful. He covered his face and said, Back then, it was just a desperate plan. I also thought that if I failed, I might lose you, but I don't regret it. At least you haven't been tortured in these past few years. Tell me, Suitsun, what's your decision? What do you want me to do? I'll agree without reservation. Suitsun shook her head. She looked at him and smiled faintly. I'm going back to Country M with you. What? Han Shinjin looked at her in shock. Suitsun said, Chan, continuing to make you worry for the rest of your life might be the only thing I can punish you for. Han Shinjin's eyes were filled with emotion. This was a punishment, but he was willing to be punished like this for the rest of his life. As long as he could be with her, even if he could only look at her and watch her blame herself for the rest of her life, he was willing. Suitsun said, after thinking about it, I've met so many people, done so many things, and experienced so much. The only one who truly loves me is you. Love was a fantasy. She had fallen in love with someone who had never loved her properly. She didn't understand at the time, but looking back, she realized that true love wasn't about life and death. It was about long-term companionship and silent enjoyment. Although she didn't love Han Shinjin, she knew that he was the only one who loved her. Therefore, choosing this place to spend the rest of her life was probably the only punishment she could give him. Lin Che stood in front of the window upstairs. She watched as Han Shinjin carefully helped Suitsun into the car. Then, the car slowly drove down the street. Her heart was filled with emotions. For a moment, she felt as if she had seen through the mysteries of life. Just then, Gu Jingzi slowly came up to her from behind and said, Lin Che, I don't allow you to be sad. Lin Che said, No, I'm not sad. In my heart, Mother passed away a long time ago. Now that I know that she's still alive and living well in this world, I'm already very grateful. It's just that I'm very sad that Mother left with Han Shinjin in the end. Do you think Mother fell in love with Han Shinjin? No, Gu Jingzi said. Gu Jingzi said, she just chose the path that's best for her. She has accepted everything and feels that love is not so important anymore. Really? Then I feel so sorry for Mother. Gu Jingzi looked at her and smiled as he kissed her cheek. Most people have a lot of regrets in their lives. Lin Che looked out of the window and thought that Mother probably loved Lu Qinyu the most. In the end, she wanted Lu Qinyu to find out about her so that she could leave everything behind. However, Lu Qinyu really didn't love her that much. Therefore, in love, the one who loved the most was actually the one who was hurt the most. Lin Che looked at Gu Jingzi and felt very emotional. Perhaps she was really lucky, unlike most people who couldn't meet such a good man in their lifetime. Lin Che said, forget it. I don't want to care about the affairs of the older generation anymore. We still have a naughty kid out there that we haven't found yet. Gu Jingzi said, I've already sent someone to confirm it. He's at Black Hawk. Don't worry. That's really strange. Why do you go there on New Year's Eve? What should we do now? Black Hawk's place is tightly sealed. I'll first ask Black Hawk what's going on. But knowing that he's there, at least he won't be in danger. You can also rest assured. Don't you also want to know what this kid has been up to recently? We could take this opportunity to see what he's up to. Lin Che said, oh, right. I wonder if his sudden departure this time has anything to do with his previous bad mood. Chapter 970. On the other side, Mu Firen was at home, preparing to spend the first unmarried New Year's Eve with Yunyan. Even though it was only the two of them, Mu Firen was still very happy. After all, it was the most relaxing New Year's Eve she had ever had. Yunyan was still a little disappointed. She had spent the New Year's Eve with Lin Che in the past, but this time, Lin Che had to go back to the Gu family. Yunyan said, Mom, why can't Brother Nyan come? Because he just came back, so he has to spend the New Year's Eve with his family. Okay, then it's just the two of us making dumplings tonight. Yeah, but Mom will prepare a gift for Yunyan. Let's guess the gift while eating the dumplings, okay? Okay. After that, let's go shopping. There's so many lights outside. It's so beautiful, right? Yes. Yunyan was very sensible. Hearing Mu Firen's words, she agreed quickly. Mu Firen looked at her and wanted to say that she should take her abroad for the New Year's Eve. It would be more lively. Now, the two of them were a little lonely. However, at this moment, suddenly, someone knocked on the door. Mu Firen raised her head and saw He Ying standing at the door. Looking at her through the glass door, he waved his hand lightly. The door was not a security door because the security of this community was very tight. No one was allowed to enter, not even with a key card. Only the owner or the owner's entourage could enter. Therefore, the door inside did not need to be anti-theft. They used an American glass door with a transparent glass that allowed people to see the people outside. He stood there proudly with a smile on his face. Although he wasn't the owner of this place, he was a Black Hawk. Because of this, he could walk indirectly. Mu Firen was surprised when Yun jumped up impatiently. Uncle Amo. Yun ran over hurriedly. After opening the door for He Ying, he walked in with a smile. Two people celebrating the New Year's Eve? Mu Firen lowered her head and smiled. Yes, I'm celebrating the New Year's Eve alone, so I thought I could join in. How could they join in this way? Mu Firen lowered her head and blushed. However, Yun didn't care about this. She immediately leaned forward and called out, Uncle Amo, do you want to make dumplings with us? Yes, Yun. Uncle is here to ask you to make dumplings. Mu Firen still wanted to say something, but she found that Yun had already said nothing and started to play with the Black Eagle. Mu Firen wanted to say that this child was too immature. But thinking about it, today was New Year's Eve. It was supposed to be the happiest time for children. She looked at Black Hawk and Yun smiling so happily and didn't say anything. Mu Firen was kneading dough inside, while Black Eagle was playing with Yun outside. However, at this moment, he heard some noises coming from outside. Mu Firen came out and saw that the person standing at the door was Gu Jingzi. She had heard from Lin Che that they had to go back to the Gu clan to celebrate the New Year's Eve because there were many things to do in a large clan. However, what did he mean by suddenly appearing here? Mu Firen walked over, opened the door, and looked at him in surprise. Mr. Gu, you, Gu Jingzi said, is Black Eagle here? Mu Firen was a little embarrassed when she heard that he was looking for Black Eagle. After all, she had nothing to do with Black Eagle, but he came to celebrate the New Year's Eve with them. She said, yes, he's inside. Black Eagle heard it from inside and came out with Yun in his arms. When he saw Gu Jingzi, his eyes flickered and he thought to himself, this kid found out so quickly. No wonder he is Gu Jingzi. Okay, I'm coming now. He put Yun down and said, wait for Uncle here. I'll be there soon. Oh, okay. Yun nodded sensibly. Gu Jingzi closed the door with Black Eagle and stood in the porch. Black Eagle was still pretending. What are you doing? Gu Jingzi said. What's going on with Yun? Why is he at your place? Black Eagle said, how dare you ask? Do you know that he almost destroyed my place with his men? He's so young, and he's already tricked people. He must have inherited this from you. My family doesn't have this bloodline. Gu Jingzi frowned. He brought people there. Yes. Didn't he bring the people you gave him? Black Eagle knew that those people couldn't be ordinary fighters. They must be the ones carefully selected by the Gu family. Gu Jingzi looked outside and was lost in thought. He shook his head and said calmly, I didn't give them to him. Black Eagle said, then why does your little kid know how to train people? That's impossible. He's always busy with training and classes. How could he have time to train people? Besides, according to what you said, if he is a security guard of the Gu family, he must be very skilled and can't be trained in such a short time. Gu Jingzi said, it seems that this kid hasn't been disciplined recently. Black Eagle tugged at Gu Jingzi's clothes. Hey, I don't care what you do. Just find a way to get rid of this little devil. He said that he won't leave and will spend the holiday with me. He won't let me tell his parents. Otherwise, he'll tell Yun and Firen that I'm Yun's biological father. Black Eagle really wanted to get rid of this little guy as soon as possible. Seeing him now gave him a headache. It was the first time that he had seen such a troublesome kid at such a young age. Fortunately, Yun had been with him for so long and hadn't learned to be so bad. Otherwise, he would have been so depressed. Gu Jingzi frowned. He knows about this? Yeah, I'm surprised too. I thought you told him. How is that possible? Gu Jingzi stood there and sighed. He pursed his lips and thought deeply. After a while, he said, you don't have to be afraid of this kind of threat. I'll go talk to him. Hey. Black Eagle pulled Gu Jingzi over. Talk to him. Don't tell him that I told you. If it affects Yin Yun, I won't let you off. Gu Jingze looked at him with a smile. He's your nephew. What can I do if you don't let me off? Ugh. Black Eagle remembered that he was his nephew. Black Eagle loosened his grip on his clothes and sighed. If I had known that Xiaoche was my sister, I wouldn't have let her marry a man like you even if I had broken her legs. You gave birth to a little freak who specializes in harming your own family. Gu Jingze smiled and brushed his clothes. It's too late. Gu Shinian was eating in the restaurant. The more he ate, the more he felt that it was too quiet. At this moment, he saw people walking around outside. It seemed that something had happened. He quickly jumped off the chair and walked out. He pulled someone and asked, "What's going on outside?" "Young master, Mr. Gu is here." "What? So fast?" Gu Shinian was caught off guard. Chapter 971. Black Eagle's men panicked when they saw so many people surrounding them. Everyone was still asking each other what they should do. The people opposite them were Gu Jingze's men. They had surrounded them on New Year's Eve. It was really frustrating. The child inside was Gu Jingze's child. Why did the father and son bring their own men here to fight? After Gu Jingze's men stopped, he saw Black Eagle's men standing in front of him. He got out of the car slowly and looked inside. He said to the people in front of him, "Hand Gu Shinian over." Black Eagle's men quickly said, "Mr. Gu, please spare us. Our boss didn't give us the order. We can't just let him go." Gu Jingze said, "I'll take responsibility. You can just let him go." Black Eagle's men didn't dare to do that. "Don't you know our boss's temper? He'll kill us. We can't do that." "Sir, look, since we can't do that, I'll go on my own way. You can't stop me. Casualties aren't part of my plan." Gu Jingze looked inside calmly and ordered his men with his eyes. Then his men rushed in. Black Eagle's men were so scared that they almost peed their pants. They weren't really going to fight, were they? But at this moment, inside, a childish voice with a hint of coldness passed through the crowd. "Stop!" Everyone turned around. Their savior had arrived. Gu Shinian stood there, but he was more eye-catching than anyone else there. He looked at Gu Jingze. "What's the matter?" Gu Jingze said, "Do you know how worried your mother is at home?" Gu Shinian said, "I know, but I just want her to worry." Gu Jingze looked at Gu Shinian. "Come here first. I have something to ask you." Gu Shinian said, "Dad, just ask me." Gu Jingze stared at him. This child's childish face was a little stubborn. He knew that he was just like him, a stubborn person. Although he was angry, he couldn't vent it. He could only look at Gu Shinian and say, "How do you know all this? How do you know about Union's matter? What are you going to do now? And where did your men come from? Tell me." Gu Shinian stood there. "Dad, I've already told you all this. What else is there for me to do?" Gu Jingze said patiently, "You can ask me if you have any questions. You can investigate it yourself, but you can only find out the general situation." Gu Shinian said, "You make it sound like you'll tell me if I ask." Gu Jingze said, "You." Gu Jingze frowned. "Are you coming over now?" Gu Shinian shook his head. "No." Gu Jingze glanced at the people behind him. The people behind Gu Shinian were expressionless. They looked like the Gu family's training style, but they weren't the Gu family security. Although Gu Jingze didn't remember all of them, he could remember most of the security guards in the Gu family. However, none of them looked familiar. Who were these people? He looked at them. Where did you come from? Who allowed you to follow Nian Yin? None of them spoke. Gu Jingze raised his voice coldly. "As the head of the Gu family, everyone in the Gu family must obey my orders." A few of them still didn't speak. Gu Shinian snorted. "It can't be anyone. Don't your own bodyguards have to listen to the head of the family?" He was a quick learner. But if that was the case, were these people his bodyguards? He couldn't remember when he had given Nian Yin these bodyguards. Gu Jingze said, "Who exactly gave them to you?" "Nian Yin, if you tell me, I can still help you. Otherwise, if you get cheated by someone, he won't lie to me, unlike all of you who hide things from me." Gu Jingze stared at Gu Shinian. His little face seemed to be impenetrable. It seemed like there was no point in trying to persuade him. Gu Jingze waved his hand and said, "All right, then I'll help you test them first." The people around them were shocked. What did he mean? Another fight? However, Just as they were starting to get excited, the real savior finally arrived. Gu Xinian, what are you doing? It was Lin Che. She got out of the car and walked over quickly as she cursed. Sure enough, when he saw Lin Che, Gu Shinian's face revealed a bit of helplessness. However, he had said it before, in order to let Lin Che know that he was angry, he still stood there, watching Lin Che walk over with a straight face. Lin Che ran over and went straight for Gu Xinian. Gu Xinian, what are you doing? Gu Xinian looked at Lin Che. I know, Mom. Lin Che asked in surprise, what do you know? Gu Jingze pulled Lin Che and whispered a few words in her ear. Lin Che suddenly understood. She looked at Gu Xinian and said, You know Heiying, he's my uncle, so Yun and I. I'm sorry. Yin. Lin Che looked at Gu Xinian and said seriously, Yin, it's my fault that I didn't tell you, but aren't you going to listen to Mom's explanation? Gu Xinian said, You had many opportunities to tell me directly and slowly explain to me, but you didn't. Lin Che said, You're right, but I think it's better for Yun to tell you herself after she finds out about it. Gu Xinian said, But she doesn't know now, and if you don't tell them, how can they know? So, are you blaming Mom for not telling Yun? Lin Che asked. Gu Xinian nodded. Lin Che said, Yin, I can't tell Yun because I'm no one to her, and he's her father. He has the right to choose when and how to tell Yun. If you tell Yun and her mother rashly, what if your Auntie Firen leaves with Yun before they're ready to accept it? Wouldn't Yun be even sadder? Why aren't they ready to accept it? Gu Xinian said. Lin Che said, Think about it. Who doesn't even know who their father is? Who wouldn't even know whose child his or her own was? Because their situation is more complicated than you think. Your Auntie Firen needs time to accept it. You see, Uncle Amo is very nice to them now. He's using his own way to get close to them and make them like him. Since that's the case, why should we interfere with his progress? Gu Xinian lowered his head. Lin Che said, Mom knows you're doing this for Yun's good, but Yun's father wants Yun to be well, right? He also wanted to reunite with Yun, and he desperately wanted to hear his daughter call him father. However, he couldn't be so impatient because he had to be prepared. Nian, I know you're very smart, but adults have a plan in mind when they do things. They have to consider more, so we can't tell you everything. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.